Chapter 40. There was a new change in the cafeteria. At noon, when Xia Pingan arrived at the cafeteria, there was pop music playing in the cafeteria. The equipment playing the music was an exaggeratedly shaped purple loudspeaker that was even taller than Xia Pingan. In the middle of a few loudspeakers, there was a pile of square box playback equipment that Xia Pingan had seen before or never seen before. It filled up a bookcase that was half the height of a person. It looked very awesome and should also be very expensive. The chefs working in the cafeteria listened to the music with a look of enjoyment on their faces. The effect of the loudspeaker was a little shocking. When the music was played, the entire cafeteria was like a concert hall. Tu Polu, Fang Lingshan, and Chao Xinghua were already sitting in the cafeteria. When they saw Xia Pingan arrive with the cafeteria, the three of them were not surprised. Only old Tu asked, "Did you fuse it?" Xia Pingan nodded. "Yes. Huh. We will be going on missions together in the future." Old Tu smiled and continued to gnaw on the bloody steak on his plate. Chao Xinghua raised his eyelids and glanced at Xia Pingan. He only said 2 words, "Congratulations." "Thank you." As for Fang Lingshan, she only nodded slightly at Xia Pingan and did not say anything. These people had been stimulated twice by Xia Pingan's perfect fusion with the Divine Fire Realm bead and the Soul Pacifying Banner. They did not feel anything about Xia Pingan's fusion with the Divine Fire Realm bead. It was as if it was a matter of course. If Xia Pingan could not fuse with the Divine Fire Realm bead, they might be surprised. Xia Pingan sat directly opposite Old Tuesday. As he drank the ginseng black chicken soup in the cafeteria, he asked, "The loudspeaker in the cafeteria is a little extravagant. Is the Committee of Orders so well funded?" That loudspeaker was left behind by Old Man. Old Tu paused, a nostalgic look on his face. "Yesterday, before you came back, Old Man was transferred away by the headquarters. He was promoted, and the headquarters transferred him to Europe. He left his favorite horn speaker in the canteen. You weren't there, so you didn't attend Old Man's farewell ceremony. Old Man Z, the flamboyant man who likes to wear flowery shirts?" Xia Pingan still had some impression of him. He had seen him twice before. That flirtatious man was the person in charge of the information center of the Shanga Committee of Order. Old Man is a good person, but he has a glib tongue. Chao Xinghua, who had been quiet all the time, finally opened his mouth. "Old Man donates a lot of money to charity every year. When he was here, I couldn't wait to kick him to death. Now that he's gone, I feel like something is missing in this building. It's a bit boring. I'm really not used to it." Fang Lingshan also said softly, "Haha, it's okay. It's not like you can't see him. When you want to be harassed by him, let's go to Europe to drink with him during the holidays." Tu Polu said casually. After a short while, Qing, Mo Yinxiao, and Li Yunzhou arrived. Everyone seemed to know that Xia Pingan had integrated with the Immortal Realm bead. Therefore, they didn't ask much about it. Qing congratulated Xia Pingan with a smile. Li Yunzhou yawned as he patted Xia Pingan's shoulder. "Come on, you can call me senior from now on." After lunch, Mo Yinxiao directly started to assign tasks at the dining table. There's something strange in the warehouse of the old graphite factory, number 46, Linen Road. More than one person reported to the police that they saw a shadow flashing through the window of the warehouse last night. This morning, the police sent people to check it out, but they didn't find anything strange. Qing, Xia Pingan, you two go check it out together in the afternoon after lunch. If there's really something strange there, ordinary policemen won't be able to find it. Okay. Qing glanced at Xia Pingan and reminded him. Her beautiful eyes were sparkling. "Remember to bring your gun and reporter's pass with you in the afternoon." "Head, how about I go with Qing?" Li Yunzhou said shamelessly. Mo Yinxiao glanced at him. "You and Chao Xinghua go to the Lingshi building to check it out." According to the analysis of several big data files left by Old Man before he left, the tracks of 2 missing people last week overlapped in the Lingshi building. The Lingshi building is an important screening point. Glancing at Chao Xinghua, who was like a rock, Li Yunzhou suddenly became discouraged. "Old Tu, Lingshan, you two go to the Qinglong Reservoir in the afternoon. That's also the location where the tracks of the missing people according to the analysis of the big data converge." Everyone accepted the order. The meal was quickly finished, and everyone returned to their rooms to prepare. After returning to his room, Xiao Pingan put on his holster and inserted the Manuel MR98 into the holster. The holster also had 5 quick-loading clips. Each clip had 6 bullets, and with the 6 bullets in the gun, he had a total of 36 bullets, which was enough to deal with most situations. For revolvers like the Manuel MR98, the slow loading speed had always been a shortcoming of revolvers. In order to make up for this shortcoming, people had invented some auxiliary reloading tools. The quick-loading clip and quick-loading clip were 2 of the auxiliary reloading tools. The quick-loading clip was disc-shaped, and its diameter was about the same as the revolver's wheel. This thing reloaded quickly, but it was round and very inconvenient to carry around as it took up a lot of space. In comparison, the quick-loading clip was much more convenient. It was smaller than ordinary clips and was flat. As long as one was familiar with it, they could also finish reloading the revolver in the shortest amount of time. Xiao Pingan had spent most of his time practicing his gun these days on how to use the quick-loading clip to reload the revolver. After becoming familiar with it, his reloading speed was already very fast. After carrying the gun, he took out the reporter ID from the pile of documents and wore it on his body. He wore a sports jacket on the outside, so no one would be able to tell that he was carrying a gun. Xiao Pingan came to the parking lot, and Qing also came down. Yasuharu had changed into a beige windbreaker, black trousers, a white shirt, and a pair of women's leather shoes with round heads and shallow necklaces. She was clean and neat, bright and moving. In an instant, she had turned into a capable female reporter. A few minutes later, Qing's red Ferrari 599 had just rushed out of the door of the Public Order Committee member's office when a black motorcycle caught up from behind like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, it ran in front of the Ferrari 599. On the motorcycle was a female rider wearing a black leather jacket and a helmet. Judging from the female rider's hot figure, the female rider was Fong Lingshan. Old Tu drove his SUV with 6 exhaust pipes and rushed up from behind. He drove alongside Qing. After greeting her, they separated at the intersection and followed Fong Lingshan's lightning-fast motorcycle in another direction. This time, Qing didn't drive as fiercely as before, and there were no police lights on the car. 30 minutes later, Qing drove the car to the underground parking lot of a hotel on Lin Road. She and Xiao Pingan took the elevator from the underground parking lot to the hotel lobby. After walking out of the lobby, they walked a few hundred meters and arrived at the old graphite factory's warehouse on Lin Road. The old graphite factory's warehouse was an old building that was half abandoned. It hadn't been used for a long time, and a mottled, rusty metal door was left ajar. From the outside, the courtyard outside the warehouse was overgrown with weeds, and one of the windows facing the street was broken. Through the gap in the door, one could easily squeeze in by leaning sideways. Xiao Pingan was the first to enter, followed by Qing. Xiao Pingan didn't dare to let his guard down. The moment he entered, he took out his gun. After the fire rescue, he knew that there were some things hidden in the city that were much more terrifying than he had imagined. There were weeds growing in the courtyard, and there were some abandoned wooden boxes and a few rusty steel rails scattered around. Other than that, there wasn't anything else that was too eye-catching. The two of them first searched the courtyard outside the warehouse. After confirming that there was nothing out of the ordinary, they walked into the warehouse. The warehouse was divided into 2 floors, and almost all the doors were open. Some of the rooms were empty, and some of the rooms were filled with dust. At first glance, there wasn't anything special. Xiao Pingan told Qing what he saw from afar. "Let's go in and take a look." Some things can only be felt and discovered at a close distance. The two of them carefully searched the warehouse on the first floor, but they didn't find anything. They searched the warehouse on the second floor again, but they didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Strange, there was more than one call from the surrounding residents. They all said that they saw shadows and heard movements here at night. Could it be that a scavenger wanderer came here? And Qing's eyes scanned the surroundings of the warehouse, and her delicate eyebrows frowned slightly. But there are no traces of wanderers or scavengers living here. Judging from the fresh footprints of leather shoes on the first and second floor of the warehouse and the corridor, Only 2 policemen came here to take a look before leaving. They didn't find anything else. Xiaopinggan raised his head and looked at the beam at the top of the warehouse, the crane, and the street lamp outside the window. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. He climbed up the stairs to the top of the crane and walked to the bottom of the beam at the top of the warehouse where there was a pile of broken sacks and wooden boxes. There, he heard a special sound. He squatted down and lifted a wooden board. He saw that under the board, there was a litter of cute kittens that had just opened their eyes and were still crying for food. Meow. Just then, 2 big tabby cats came in through a broken window at the top of the warehouse and walked along the beam. One of the big tabby cats had 2 mice in its mouth. When it saw Xiaopinggan, the big tabby cat that didn't have mice in its mouth screamed nervously and angrily. Xiaopinggan covered the board and retreated. There's a litter of kittens up there. I think I know what the shadows that the people outside saw were. Xiaopinggan pointed to the big tabby cat on the beam and then pointed to the street lamp outside that was facing the beam. And Qing suddenly understood. At night, when the street lamp outside was turned on, the 2 big tabby cats went home from the beam. The street lamp enlarged their shadows and cast them on the wall on the other side of the warehouse. If there were people outside the warehouse, they would feel that there were shadows flashing in the warehouse from the window on the wall. After investigation, there was nothing unusual in the warehouse. It was just a false alarm that the 2 cats had settled down here. Xiaopinggan and the others didn't find anything here, but at the Lingshi building, Chao Xinghua and Li Yunzhou made an important discovery. Chapter 41. When Xiaopinggan and Qing rushed to Lingshi building, the entrance to the parking lot of Lingshi building had already been cordoned off by the police. Only when they entered the underground from the entrance did they see the cordon of the Committee of Order inside. The police were responsible for maintaining order outside to prevent the public from panicking and making wild guesses, while the people from the Committee of Order were inside to deal with tricky situations that the police could not handle. In addition to the Special Operations Division, the other departments of the Committee of Order also arrived. On the 2nd floor of Lingshi building, in addition to the underground parking lot, there was also an underground cold storage of more than 2,000 square meters. When they arrived at the entrance of the underground cold storage, Xiaopinggan saw a pile of completely charred human-shaped traces of ashes at the entrance of the underground cold storage. Xiaopinggan could tell at a glance that it was the result of a summoner's fireball. The corpse had turned to ashes, and its face was difficult to recognize. However, in the pile of charred ashes on the ground, there were belt buckles, metal badges, and other small metal objects that had melted and deformed from the heat. After passing through the entrance of the cold storage and entering the cold storage, the temperature suddenly dropped by many degrees. The cold storage was full of frozen pork hung on iron hooks. There was a strong smell of blood in the cold storage. The dark red light in the cold storage was on. Pieces of pale pork hung there, densely packed, like a forest of corpses. It looked terrifying. Xiaopinggan walked in and heard Li Yunzhou's voice coming from inside. The security guard guarding the cold storage didn't show any abnormalities before. But when Old Chow and I took out the environmental inspection certificate, Old Chow went into the cold storage to check. When I was watching from outside, the security guard lied to me and wanted to trick me into the cold storage. But I'm so smart, so how could I be fooled? I noticed that something was wrong with the security guard at that time. When he saw that I didn't enter the cold storage, the security guard suddenly started attacking me. I fired 2 shots at him and found that the bullets didn't work on him. At that time, I realized that the security guard might be a living corpse. Then I cast a fireball and melted him. At that time, Old Chow also noticed the abnormality in the cold storage and saw this demon I piled up here. After entering the cold storage, Xiaopinggan saw Mo Yinxiao, Li Yunzhou, and Chao Xinghua. The 3 of them were talking about something with solemn expressions. In the cold storage around the 3 of them, Xiaopinggan saw the familiar sacrificial pattern. Another demon eye. The demon eye made up of more than a dozen broken limbs, torsos, and heads was on the ground of the cold storage, and it was larger than the one in the shopping center. The limbs of the corpses that formed the demon eye were all stiff and covered with a layer of snow-white frost. Judging from the number of heads that formed the eyeball, there were 17 people who had died here. There were men and women among the 17 corpses. They were all below the age of 40 and above the age of 15. There was a fist-sized hole in the middle of each corpse's forehead. Looking from the hole, the brain tissue in the cranial cavity had disappeared without a trace. The pale heads covered in a layer of frost were piled up in a pile, and there was a large hole in each of their heads. The cranial cavity was empty. This scene was enough to scare a timid person to tears. Based on the analysis of the bodies of the victims, their brains were sucked dry before they died. It seems that the members of the demon eye who attacked have taken the initiative to fuse with brain-eating insects. Other than the security guard at the door, no other hosts controlled by brain-eating insects have been found in the building for the time being. Chao Xinghua said to Mo Yanxiao, "Brain-eating insects." Xiao Pinggan's heart skipped a beat. Brain-eating insects could be said to be the most dangerous type of space-invading creatures. Those creatures first parasitized in the human body, then hatched, grew up, and became the human brain. Finally, they completed the control and fusion of the human body and changed the genes of the human body. Finally, they could completely turn a person into a brain-eating monster. What was more dangerous was that brain-eating insects could also use other people as hosts to control their behavior, turning the controlled hosts into walking corpses without any abnormalities on the outside. Compared to demon rats, brain-eating insects were more dangerous. Moreover, the ability of brain-eating insects did not produce any supernatural energy fluctuations, so they would not be perceived by the people who lit the lamps. People who took the initiative to fuse with brain-eating insects would have all the abilities of brain-eating insects, so they were even more terrifying. The surveillance video of the building is still running normally. The technical analysis department has already retrieved the surveillance video of the building and the duty records of the security guards of this cold storage. The bodies here must have been transported in batches from outside. I still remember the faces of a few of them. They are the people who were reported missing in Shanghai City during this period. While Mo Yanxiao was speaking, Xia Pinggan and Enqing had already arrived beside the three of them. Enqing glanced at the demons' eye underground. It seems that there are other members of the demons' eye lurking in Shanghai City. The one last time was a phantom monster parasitized. Xia Pinggan's Requiem banner can restrain the living corpses controlled by brain-eating insects. Mo Yanxiao's gaze fell on Xia Pinggan. If we find another living corpse controlled by brain-eating insects, we might need you to take action. Xia Pinggan nodded. 2 minutes later, Tu Polu and Fong Lingshan also arrived. The two of them did not find anything unusual at the Azure Dragon Reservoir. The technical analysis department of the Committee of Order quickly sent the results. In the past month, this cold storage had been guarded by the security guard. The only person who had close contact with the security guard was the boss of this cold storage. The boss of this cold storage was called Gao Qingshan. The boss of the cold storage drove a truck into the cold storage every 1 or 2 days and closed the door to unload and load goods. Except for the boss of the cold storage, no one else had entered this underground cold storage in the past month. After a comprehensive analysis, the boss of this cold storage was either the host of the brain-eating insects or a member of the demons who had fused with the brain-eating insects. If the boss of the cold storage was the host of the brain-eating insects, then the member of the demons who had fused with the brain-eating insects was someone else. However, the host of the brain-eating insects was connected to the main body. The distance between the two could not exceed a certain range, which was generally between a few kilometers and dozens of kilometers. Once the host exceeded a certain range, it would die. Judging from the distance, the member of the demons who had fused with the brain-eating insects was still in Shanghai City. However, after the security guard's accident, the member of the demons must have sensed it. It was unknown whether he had absconded. There was also a limit to the number of hosts that the brain-eating insects could control. This was determined by the level of the brain-eating insects. The minimum was 1, the maximum was dozens, and the maximum was 81. If the boss of the cold storage was a member of the demon's eye, then he was the main body of the brain-eating insects. Then, The result was not optimistic because the person who had fused with the brain-eating insects had the ability to change his body and appearance like an octopus and a chameleon. It was possible that in other corners and places of the city, there were brain-eating insects, hosts, and demons that had not been discovered. The Committee of Order began to quickly investigate the movements of the boss of the cold storage in recent months and checked his customers, family, and friends to see if there were any abnormalities. The arrest warrant was issued immediately. The police received the arrest warrant. The boss of the cold storage, Gao Qing-shan, was the main culprit of the first-degree murder with a gun. He might have accomplices. If he resisted arrest and escaped, he could be killed immediately. A clear photo of the boss of the cold storage, Gao Qing-shan, was also sent to Xia Pinggan's work phone. It was a middle-aged man in his 40s with gloomy eyes, fat eyes, and a slightly bald face. Gao Qing-shan had no children and was alone. He was currently missing. A few years ago, he came to Shanghai City to open a freezing factory and had been keeping a low profile. After a quick search, the possibility that Gao Qing-shan was a member of the demons greatly increased. Mo Yanxiao and Xia Pinggan both used their remote vision abilities to participate in the search throughout the city, but their remote vision abilities did not find any traces of Gao Qing-shan. This meant that either Gao Qing-shan had left Shanghai City, or he might have changed his appearance but was still in Shanghai City. The Committee of Order of Shanghai City was doing its best to hunt down this member of the demons hiding in Shanghai City. If Gao Qing-shan was still in Shanghai City, with his familiarity with Shanghai City and his ability to fuse with the man-eating insects, it would definitely not be easy for the Committee of Order to find someone who could change his identity and face at any time in such a large city. This was also the greatest difficulty for the Committee of Order in facing space invading creatures and the demon's eye. In most cases, discovery was equivalent to destruction and killing, but the most difficult thing was the process of discovery. The members of the demons who had fused with the brain-eating insects and the living corpses controlled by the brain-eating insects were like a drop of water disappearing in the ocean of this city, making it difficult to find them. For a short time, the Committee of Order could not confirm whether the member of the demons had left Shanghai City or was still hiding somewhere in the city. When it was time to get off work in the evening, the streets of Shanghai City were still bustling with activity. Most of the ordinary people knew nothing about the dangers around them and the hidden dangerous monsters. They just did what they were supposed to do every day. After a busy afternoon, Xia Pinggan, who had finished his first case analysis meeting with the Special Operations Division at the Committee of Order's residence, walked out of the Committee of Order alone, went to the bus stop outside, and waited for the bus to arrive. Just like the police chasing a murderer, even if the murderer had not been caught, they still had to get off work and rest when it was time to get off work. Tomorrow was the weekend, and Xia Pinggan had not been home for almost 2 weeks. Tonight, he promised Xia Ning that he would go home and cook for her. Life was like this. Chapter 42. There were not many people on the bus along the way. Only a few people were standing in the bus. Some of the people sitting on the bus were drowsy, while others were playing with their phones. Inside the bus, only the sound of the TV was echoing in the bus, broadcasting news and advertisements. Today, a murder case happened in the underground cold storage of the Linkshire building. When our reporter arrived, the police had already set up a cordon outside the building. According to the police, a security guard in the underground cold storage of the building has been killed. After the police checked the surveillance footage, they found that the owner of the underground cold storage, Gao Qing-shan, committed the murder with a gun. The reason for the murder may be a labor dispute. The police have issued a warrant for arrest. If any enthusiastic citizens find useful clues, they can call the police, and the police will offer a reward of 100,000 yuan. Xia Pinggan, who was sitting in the back of the bus, looked up at the TV in front of him. The photo of a middle-aged man in his 40s with gloomy eyes, fat eyes, and a slightly bald face appeared on the TV. Under the photo, there was a reward of 100,000 yuan. The National Committee of Order and the demons formed by the corpses in the underground cold storage did not appear on the news. People who watched the news thought that this was a bad criminal case. Xia Pingan noticed that when the news was broadcasted, most of the people in the bus just looked up at the beautiful female reporter on the TV screen in the bus. No one cared. Perhaps this was the best for ordinary people. If the bloody and terrifying scene in the underground cold storage appeared on TV, most people would not be able to sleep well at night. No one would dare to go out at night. They arrived at the bus stop. Not far from the community where Xia Pingan rented, Xia Pingan got off the bus. There was a fresh supermarket outside. After getting off the bus, Xia Pingan went straight into the supermarket and bought some vegetables. 10 minutes later, Xia Pingan walked out of the fresh supermarket. The shopping bag in his hand was already filled with the things he had bought. Hoof tendons, sea cucumbers, mushrooms, abalone, shark fin, chicken, shrimp, and some fresh vegetables. These ingredients cost more than 300 yuan. Carrying his stuff, Xia Pingan walked straight to his apartment. As he entered the apartment, the security guard who was watching TV in the reception room downstairs glanced at Xia Pingan and continued watching TV. Everything in the corridor was the same as before. Xia Pingan came to the door of the top floor. Just as he was about to take out his key, he realized that the lock on the security door of his rented room had been changed. The previous lock was no longer there. The new lock was shiny, but Xia Pingan's key could no longer be inserted. F***CK. Uncle Hong would not change the lock. If he wanted to change the lock, he would have to tell him. This was something that Xingdong would do, because on the security door, there was a small card with transparent tape. On the small card, there was a line of words. New landlord's phone number 138 X times X times X. Tenants of this house, please contact the new landlord to get the key. Xia Pingan hung the shopping bag in his hand on the railing of the stairs, took out his phone, and called the new landlord. The phone was dialed, but the line was not busy. However, after waiting for more than 10 seconds, a middle-aged woman's voice appeared on the phone. Hello, who is this? Hello, I am the tenant who previously rented Uncle Han's apartment. You changed the lock, so I can't get in now. Can you come over and open the lock? Oh, you are that Xia Pingan. The woman on the phone called out Xia Pingan's name. Her tone was a bit vulgar and rude. Yes, I am Xia Pingan. The apartment you're renting now belongs to my family. I will be the landlord from now on. The middle-aged woman's voice was triumphant. Like a machine gun, she did not give Ping a chance to speak at all. I changed the lock. From this month onwards, the rent will be increased to 3,800 yuan per month. Your previous contract does not count. The contract will be renewed. If you don't want to live here, you can move out. Xia Pingan frowned slightly. The same apartment in this community cost about 3,200 to 3,300 yuan per month. That was the result of Uncle Hong not willing to increase the rent, and Xia Pingan himself took the initiative to increase the rent several times. Looking at the new lock and listening to the woman's voice on the phone, Xia Pingan suppressed the discomfort in his heart. However, he still said calmly, I haven't seen the new contract yet. Let me take a look first. I'm going home now. Can you give me the key first? Okay, wait for me. The woman hung up the phone rudely. Xia Pingan could only wait at the door of the apartment. Xia Pingan could open the lock without the key. However, it would be troublesome to open it at this time. Therefore, he temporarily waited at the door. 20 minutes later, footsteps came from downstairs. It was Xiaoning who came back first. Xiaoning was wearing a yellow cartoon hat, jeans, a white shirt, and a knitted jacket. He was carrying a backpack. He was youthful, beautiful, and full of vitality. Brother, why are you at the door? Did you lose the key? Xiaoning asked. Uncle Hong is going back to the countryside to retire. He sold the apartment. The new landlord changed the lock. Xia Pingan said helplessly. Ah, why didn't the new landlord inform us that he changed the lock? He had to wait until we were there to change the lock. We were not at home. How could they go in? What if we lost our things? Seeing the small note on the security door, Xiaoning was very angry. Just from this matter, Xiaoning felt that the new landlord did not respect him. This matter was not serious. The new landlord just changed the lock. However, if it was serious, it was trespassing. Xia Pingan and Uncle Hong's lease contract was still there. They were still in the lease period stipulated in the contract. The two siblings could only continue to wait at the door. Xia Ning asked about Xia Pinggan's new job. The salary is not bad, but I might not be able to go home every weekend in the future. Xia Pinggan did not tell Xia Ning that he was already a summoner. He felt that this news would have a big impact on Xia Ning. Moreover, the Committee of Order summoners have been exaggerated by those movies and TV series. They gave people the impression that they were on the verge of life and death every day, dealing with all kinds of monsters. Although that was the truth, and it was even more exaggerated and dangerous than the movies and TV series. Xia Pinggan did not want Xia Ning to be too worried, so he only played it down. He wanted Xia Ning to think that he was only using his remote vision ability to serve the Committee of Order. The two siblings waited at the door for more than 10 minutes. The sky gradually darkened. Xia Pinggan made another call to the new house, and it was still the woman who answered the phone. "Why are you rushing me? I'll come after dinner," the woman said and hung up the phone. "Let's go out for dinner tonight. We'll come back after dinner." Xia Pinggan smiled apologetically at Xia Ning. "But I want to eat brother's fragrant pot soup. I haven't eaten it for a long time." Xia Ning looked at the ingredients that Xia Pinggan bought and could not help but swallow his saliva. "Brother, your soup is the best. No one can compare to it." The fragrant pot soup that Xia Ning mentioned was the Buddha jumps over the wall that Xia Pinggan made. However, there was no Buddha jumps over the wall in this world. There was only the fragrant pot soup that Xia Ning mentioned. Anyway, it won't be good today. It will take a day or two to soak in the water. We don't know when the new landlord will come. Let's not wait here foolishly. Let's fill our stomachs first. We can also eat delicious food outside. Okay. Xia Ning laughed again and hugged Xia Pinggan's arm. "Let's celebrate your new job and becoming a civil servant." Xia Ning, who was hugging Xia Pinggan's arm, felt that there was something hard under Xia Pinggan's clothes. He asked, "Brother, what are you carrying with you? Why is it so hard?" It was Xia Pinggan's gun. The whole city was full of danger. Since he could bring a gun back, Xia Pinggan did the same. In addition to the gun, he also carried the reporter's certificate that he and Enchin carried when they went out today. He had not put it back in the office yet. "That's your brother's work item. It's from the Committee of Order. It's confidential. Let's go." Xia Pinggan smiled and did not say much. He hung the ingredients at the door and went downstairs with Xia Ning. Xia Ning did not ask any more questions. The two of them found a good restaurant outside the community and had dinner to celebrate Xia Pinggan's new job. After dinner, it was already past 8 o'clock in the evening. The two of them slowly returned to the community. Just as they reached the entrance of the community, Xia Pinggan's phone rang. He looked at the phone number and saw that it was the new landlord. Xia Pinggan picked up the phone. "Where are you? Where did you go?" "We're here. Where did you go?" The woman was aggressive on the phone. "I'm downstairs in the community. I'm coming up now. Hurry up. We have to go back after signing the contract and paying. Don't waste our time." The woman hung up the phone again. Xia Pinggan and Xia Ning returned to the house and found that the door was already open. The lights in the house were on and the door was wide open. The ingredients that Xia Pinggan had hung outside the door were also rummaged through. The things that were originally neatly arranged in the bag were now in a mess. Xia Ning bit his lips and glanced at Xia Pinggan. He silently took the bag of ingredients that Xia Pinggan bought and entered the house. Two people were watching TV in the house. They were a man and a woman. They looked like a couple. One of them was a middle-aged woman with a fat body and a fat face. She wore heavy makeup and looked somewhat sharp and shrewd. The other was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a big waist and a buzz cut. The middle-aged man was wearing a t-shirt. Half of his arms were exposed and colorful tattoos could be seen. The man was sitting on the sofa and smoking a cigarette. He looked like a mountain eagle. The ashes of his cigarette casually fell onto the floor of the living room. The floor of the originally clean house was now covered with messy footprints. Many things in the house seemed to have been touched. The paintings that Xia Ning had hung on the wall of the living room were gone. The wall was empty. Seeing that his paintings were gone, Xia Ning's face changed. He put the ingredients in the kitchen and came to the living room. "Where are my paintings?" The middle-aged woman glanced at Xia Ning and said sharply, "Little girl, don't you know how to talk? What paintings? The furniture in this house belongs to our family. We have already bought it. You're just renting the house. How can there be anything that belongs to you? That painting is mine. Xiaoning bit her lips. The paintings hanging in the house were all painted by Xiaoning. Each painting contained the story and memories of her and Xia Pinggan. Those are the most precious memories of the two siblings. Xia Pinggan glanced around the house and found that even the things in the siblings' bedroom had been turned over. He came to the living room with a cold face and looked at the two new landlords. That painting was painted by my sister. It doesn't belong to the landlords. Return the painting. We don't want to rent it anymore. We want to move out. You must be Xia Pinggan. The woman glanced at Xia Pinggan and began to act shamelessly. What painting? I didn't see it. At this moment, Xiaoning thought of something. His face changed, and he quickly opened a drawer in the living room. The things in the drawer had been rummaged through. Xiaoning took out the box where the siblings kept their money at home. When he opened the box, it was empty. The money that was previously placed in the box was all gone. Brother, our money is gone. Xiaoning felt so wronged that he almost cried. The money in the box was their living expenses. There was also the money that Xia Pinggan had left for Xiaoning's summer vacation and pocket money. The total was about 27,000 yuan. Tiger wishes all readers a happy spring festival and the year of the ox. Tiger will continue to update during the spring festival. Chapter 43. Seeing that the money he kept at home was gone, Xia Pinggan understood what had happened here. Xia Pinggan patted Xiaoning on the shoulder, pulled the angry man to his side, and smiled. It's okay, leave it to me. Xiaoning glared at the middle-aged man and woman. Give us back our money. What money? Don't talk nonsense, we haven't seen it. The middle-aged woman stared at Xiaoning fiercely and threatened. If you talk nonsense again, I'll tear your mouth off. Xia Pinggan pulled Xiaoning behind him and looked at the middle-aged man and woman. He was not angry, but calmly said, Give back my sister's painting and our money, and I won't care about the rest. You're blackmailing us, aren't you? The burly middle-aged man suddenly stood up, threw the cigarette butt on the ground, and stamped it out with his foot. Then he slammed a contract on the table and glared. Don't play this game with me. If you want to continue living here, sign the contract. If you don't want to live here, immediately pay the rent and move out. Don't you know what kind of person I'm, Alu? The woman pointed at Xia Pinggan and scolded him fiercely. You're a mechanic and your sister is still young. You're just a repairman, and your sister is still in school. Where did you get the money from? Don't even think about extorting money from me. The floorboards in this house are already damaged, the water pipes in the bathroom need to be fixed, and the wallpaper is also damaged. These were all damaged when you lived here. I still want you to compensate me, but you're asking me for money instead. To fix all these, I need at least 50 to 60,000 yuan. If the two of you don't pay for the damage to this house, don't even think about leaving. You. It was the first time that Xiaoning met such unreasonable bullies. His face turned white with anger. As for Xia Pinggan, when he heard the woman say that he was a mechanic and his parents are not around, he understood that these two people already knew that he and Xiaoning had no one to rely on and had no social relations, so they were unscrupulous. I'll give you one last chance. Give back the money and things, and we'll move out tomorrow, Xia Pinggan said to the two people. Kid, are you looking for trouble? The middle-aged man walked over aggressively. Believe it or not, I'll kill you. My brother is in the nearby police station. How many people in my family are in the police station? I'm still afraid that you'll call the police. Do you think I'm afraid of you two little brats? The woman also came over and pointed at the two people and shouted, I still want you two to pay for the damage of my house. Xia Pinggan smiled. These two people should be husband and wife. This man should be outside. He can't even be considered a gangster. He should only know a few people. This woman's brother might indeed be in the police station. Relying on such a relationship, this couple would take out the trick of acting shamelessly when they saw someone who was easy to bully. They were so domineering and unreasonable. When ordinary people encountered such a situation, they really couldn't do anything to these two people. These two people probably used this trick to taste a lot of benefits before, so they became more and more unscrupulous. I hope you don't regret it. Xia Pinggan didn't speak. He just pulled Xiaoning, turned around, and left the house directly. Kid, who are you trying to scare? Pay for the damage of our house first before you go, the woman said and gave the man a look. The two people came over pole. Once this kind of dispute between ordinary people started, even if they called the police, it would be impossible to resolve it. Seeing that the two people were coming over to pole, Xia Pingan didn't say a word. He directly left the room with Xia Ning, turned around, and left. The couple was stunned for a moment and looked at each other. From their experience, when these two young people encountered this kind of thing, other than arguing and calling the police, there was nothing else they could do. Anyway, they were already prepared to argue. They weren't afraid of calling the police. Xia Ning was full of anger. She didn't know why Xia Pingan actually took her out of the house directly. When they came down from the apartment building and came to the neighborhood streetlight, Xia Ning felt so wrong that she almost cried. Brother, that's what they're good at. They're unreasonable, quarreling, swearing, and being unreasonable. We're not good at these, so we don't need to compete with them. If a dog bites you, you can't bite it back. Xia Pingan smiled. Just find a dog-beating stick. What if our things are still up there? The two siblings' things in the house, including the money, have been taken away. The other things left were Xia Ning's paintings and some clothes. Well, they can't take those things away. If we quarrel with them, we can't make a phone call. If they start fighting when I call, I'm afraid they will scare you. They just want to argue with us. If you touch her and she falls to the ground, then we won't be able to get the money back. Xia Pingan smiled, took out his phone, and dialed the Shanghai City police number. Seeing that Xia Pingan was not in a hurry, although Xia Ning's anger was difficult to dissipate, she also calmed down. She knew that her brother had never disappointed anyone. Hello, this is Shanghai City's public police hotline. How can we help you? A female police officer's voice came from the phone. Hello, I want to report a case. Please tell us your detailed address and what happened to you. We will immediately send someone to deal with it. My name is Xia Pingan. I am a special correspondent of the Optics Valley News Agency in Shanghai City. My house in Shanghai City was burglarized. The stolen property includes several paintings, 500,000 in cash, a pistol, and more than 10 rounds of bullets. Xia Ning listened to the side, and her eyes widened. As soon as she heard Xia Pingan say this, she knew that her brother was going to deal with someone. However, wasn't her brother in the Committee of Order? How did he become a special correspondent of the Optics Valley News Agency in Shanghai City? Xia Ning was puzzled, but she just listened to the side without speaking or interrupting. You said that you were a special correspondent of the Optics Valley News Agency in Shanghai City. Your house was burglarized, and a gun and more than 10 rounds of bullets were lost? The female police officer on the phone, who was calm just now, suddenly became nervous. The reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency were not ordinary local media reporters. The reports and manuscripts of the reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency could reach the highest level of the fire country. Therefore, the local government was very careful when dealing with the reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency. They did not dare to be negligent. Gun cases were also the cases that the police paid the most attention to. Gun cases had to be directly reported to the Municipal Bureau, and the Municipal Bureau's Criminal Police Brigade would deal with them directly. When the female police officer on the phone heard that Xia Pingan's report actually involved these two elements, and that he was a reporter of the Optics Valley News Agency and had lost a gun, she suddenly became nervous and hurriedly wanted to confirm. Yes, my reporter's ID number is Guang 8987-165-4919, and my gun's ID number is level 13645-001-6717. The gun I lost is a Manuel MR98, which is a special gun. Of course, ordinary reporters did not have a gun's ID, but it was normal for the reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency to have one. This was because everyone knew that the reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency were not ordinary reporters to a certain extent. They might be in charge of some special investigative tasks and were classified as intelligence personnel with a reporter's ID. Even in the fire country, they might encounter some accidents, so they were allowed to carry a gun. The house I rented before had a new landlord. When I returned home today, I found that the locks had been changed and the money and gun were gone. Everything in the house was rummaged through, so it should have been burglarized. The address of the house I rented is, yes, it's not safe for me here. Just now, someone made a personal threat to me and wanted to kill me. Yes, they were at my place when I returned. I'm now preparing to stay at the Guangzhou Hotel. If you have any problems, you can find me there. Yes, you can contact me on this phone. After calling the police and hanging up the phone, Xia Pinggan smiled at the stunned Xiaoning. Let's go. Your brother will take you to a 5-star hotel today. Brother, you're rich? Xiaoning looked at Xia Pinggan in confusion. Xia Pinggan shrugged. Someone will pay for us. This is the dog-beating stick you found? Yes, some mad dogs are unscrupulous and dare to bare their teeth at people. The reason is that they lack society's beatings. They'll be fine after a couple of beatings. Xia Pinggan patted Xiaoning's head. Let's go, we'll take a taxi there. Brother, does pretending to be a reporter have anything to do with having a gun license? Xiaoning was still a little confused and worried. You said it so smoothly just now, I almost believed you. It's okay, this is the benefit of the Committee of Order. You can fake it as you wish. Is that so? Xiaoning looked at Xia Pinggan in confusion, feeling that something was wrong. Xia Pinggan brought Xiaoning out of the neighborhood, called a taxi, and went straight to the Guangzhou Hotel. Less than 10 minutes after Xia Pinggan and the rest left, a few police cars drove to the neighborhood, and a team of fully armed special police officers jumped out of one of the explosion-proof vehicles. The special police officers rushed upstairs, and in a short while, they brought down the middle-aged man and woman wearing black balaclavas. Under the black balaclavas, the woman's hair was a mess, her face was swollen, and her whole body was trembling. She looked like she had lost her head out of fear. As for the man with the tattoos on his arm, his face was covered in blood, and a few of his front teeth were knocked out by the special police officers. His body was like a sieve, and he looked like a dead fish. Just now, the two of them were in the room, rummaging through Xia Pinggan and Xiaoning's belongings. They were still discussing how to get rid of these things the next day, when the security door was suddenly broken from the outside, and a team of special police officers wearing balaclavas and black uniforms rushed in with guns. The tattooed man's brain short-circuited, and he didn't understand the situation. When he saw the team of men in black rush in, he wanted to grab a thermos bottle to defend himself. "Don't move!" One of the special police officers who rushed and roared, and smashed the tattooed man's face with the butt of his gun. Then, he kicked him in the stomach, and he fell to the ground. "What are you doing?" The woman screamed and wanted to pull, but a special police officer rushed over and grabbed her by the neck and pressed her to the ground. The woman fell, and one side of her face hit the ground. Half of her face was numb, and it swelled up in the blink of an eye. Facing the black muzzle and violent machine, the two of them were scared silly, not knowing what had happened. Chapter 44. The taxi directly stopped beside the fountain sculpture at the entrance of Guangzhou Hotel. As soon as the taxi stopped, a hotel doorman in a black tuxedo opened the door with standard movements. After paying the fare, Xiaoning followed Xia Pinggan out of the taxi and walked towards the lobby of the hotel. Looking at the magnificent lobby of the hotel, the well-dressed guests coming and going, and the luxury cars that were worth millions parked in the parking lot beside the hotel entrance, Xia Pinggan looked calm. Xiaoning timidly pulled Xia Pinggan's clothes and said with a guilty conscience, "Brother, isn't it a bit too extravagant for us to come here?" Guangzhou Hotel was a chain of 5-star international hotels. In a city like Shanghai, a 5-star hotel was already the top hotel. "It doesn't matter. Didn't you say that the desserts and endless hot spring pool here were the best? You could try it later," Xia Pinggan said to Xiaoning with a smile. "I heard it from my classmate," Xiaoning said in a low voice. "I didn't say that I wanted to come here. It must be very expensive. Your brother is here. You don't have to worry. I've never brought you here before. Today, you can experience it." Seeing Xia Pinggan's calm and steady face, Xiaoning felt inexplicably reassured and was no longer nervous. Since young, as long as Xia Pinggan said this sentence, Xiaoning would know that it was true. Even if the sky fell, her brother would hold it up for her. Xia Pinggan didn't bring Xiaoning here purely for enjoyment and status. He knew that a safe house of the Committee of Order in Shanghai City was in this hotel. Furthermore, The security of Guangzhou Hotel in the Fire Country was managed by the Empire Security Company, which was set up by the former summoners and elites of the National Committee of Order. It was the safest place to stay. Right now, Shanghai City was not very peaceful. Bringing Xia Ning to a place that he was not familiar with to settle down, Xia Pinggan was not at ease. Xia Pinggan had an identity card of a security guard of the Empire Security Company, which could be used when necessary. Just now, when he walked into the hotel with Xia Ning, because the two of them were dressed relatively casually and relaxed. Just as they entered the hotel, Xia Pinggan could already feel that the eyes of several security guards in suits in the hotel lobby had already fallen on him, and several hidden cameras around the lobby were already aimed at him and Xia Ning. After glancing at the security monitoring room of the hotel with his remote viewing ability, Xia Pinggan saw his and Xia Ning's faces on several monitors in the security room. On the monitoring screen of the security room, 2 yellow data frames were following him and Xia Ning. After they arrived at the lobby, the yellow data frames suddenly turned red and issued an alarm. All the people in the security room became tense at once. Several security guards in the hotel lobby immediately quickened their pace and approached him from several directions without leaving a trace. Xia Pinggan saw that his body had turned translucent on one of the monitoring screens in the security room. The outline of the gun under his armpit was immediately scanned and identified by the monitoring screen. The high-tech shortwave infrared camera and millimeter wave radar could allow the security room to detect weapons and other dangerous items hidden on a person's body through his clothes in the lobby. At this moment, 2 or 3 seconds later, before the security guard in the lobby approached him, Xia Pinggan's identity had been identified by the large data facial recognition system in the hotel's intranet. On the monitoring screen, the red data frames that were following Xia Pinggan suddenly turned green. Furthermore, a special security identification code was displayed above Xia Pinggan's head. The alarm in the security room was instantly lifted. The security guards in the lobby who were walking towards Xia Pinggan received the reminder from their headsets. After glancing at Xia Pinggan from afar, they naturally turned to other places. In just a few seconds, an invasion and counter-invasion, a crisis and counter-crisis, a hotel security incident quietly occurred and was quietly lifted as if nothing had happened. The melodious piano music was still reverberating in the lobby. Other people in the lobby didn't notice anything. The spring water was gurgling. Xia Pinggan was very satisfied with the hotel's response. There was nothing unusual in the lobby. Xia Ning, who was following Xia Pinggan, didn't notice anything either. Xia Pinggan had already brought Xia Ning to the front desk of the hotel. "Hello, sir. It's my pleasure to serve you. What can I do for you?" The sweet hotel front desk smiled and said to Xia Pinggan, who was walking over, "Give me a suite with 2 bedrooms. Our luxury hot spring suite can meet your needs. There is also a hot spring bath in the room. The daily stay is 3,900 yuan. Do you need this? Okay, give me one. I'll book it for 2 days after this weekend." Xia Pinggan nodded, took out his wallet, and handed over his ID card and a bank card. Hearing that it would cost 3,900 yuan for a night here, Xia Ning was shocked. "Brother, you're crazy." Xia Ning pulled Xia Pinggan's clothes and whispered, "It costs so much for a night here. It's too expensive." Xia Pinggan smiled and touched Xia Ning's head, but didn't explain anything. Soon, the procedures were completed. The hotel front desk with a sweet smile smiled and handed over Xia Pinggan's ID card, bank card, and 2-room card with both hands. "Sir, your room is 2388. The elevator is over there. Turn left after the elevator. Do you need me to send someone to take you up?" "Thank you, but it's okay. We'll go up ourselves." Xia Pinggan smiled and took those things. Then, he handed a room card to Xia Ning. "Let's go." "Brother, it's too expensive here. Staying here for a day is more expensive than our previous monthly rent," Xia Ning whispered as he walked. His face was full of pain and curiosity. "Well, it's okay. You're here to celebrate your brother's new job." Xia Pinggan smiled. "Anyway, someone will pay for us. Someone is in a hurry to send us money. We have to accept it. If everything goes well, we could buy a car next week. Then, We can move to a better place to stay. Xianing's brain was very flexible. When Xiao Pingan said that, she thought of her brother's call to the police. She understood a little, but she still felt that it was a little unbelievable. Her brother was too calm, as if he often faced such a rogue couple. The two just walked in the direction of the elevator. Before they reached the elevator door opened. Fong Lingshan walked out of the elevator and saw Xia Pingan walking over with a young and beautiful girl. Fong Lingshan was a little surprised. She didn't expect to meet Xia Pingan here. She looked at Xia Pingan beside Xianing. She didn't know what to think, but her expression changed slightly. A man bringing a young and beautiful girl to a hotel. A man and a woman alone. What else could they be doing? As she was thinking about this, Fong Lingshan's gaze towards Xia Pingan turned cold all of a sudden, with a hint of disdain and contempt. Ah, Fong Lingshan, what a coincidence! Xia Pingan didn't expect to meet Fong Lingshan here and was a little surprised. At this time, Fong Lingshan had exquisite makeup on. She was wearing a flame-red, gorgeous evening gown. Half of her snowy shoulders were exposed. She was wearing shiny high heels and a string of diamond necklaces on her chest. She looked noble and elegant. When Fong Lingshan walked out of the elevator, she was like a magnet. Many men in the hall looked over. Is this how you spend your weekend? It's really special. Fong Lingshan looked coldly at Xia Pingan and said sarcastically. Xianing was smart. She just saw the change in Fong Lingshan's expression and immediately understood. She smiled and took the initiative to greet Fong Lingshan. She stretched out her hand and said, "This must be Lingshan. Hello, I'm Xianing, Xia Pingan's sister. Nice to meet you." Xianing's words caught Fong Lingshan off guard. She looked at Xia Pingan and then looked at Xianing. She found that the two of them looked similar. Thinking of her misunderstanding of Xia Pingan's ridicule, Fong Lingshan suddenly felt a little hot. After calming down, she smiled apologetically at Xia Pingan and shook hands with Xianing. "Sorry, I was a little rude just now. I'm your brother's colleague." "I know. I knew when I saw Sister Lingshan. My brother mentioned you to me before." Xianing's smile was cuter than the hotel's receptionist. It was sweet, affectionate, and pure. "Your brother mentioned me before?" Fong Lingshan was really surprised. She didn't expect that Xia Pingan would introduce her to his sister. Women were always curious, especially when it was related to themselves. Fong Lingshan's tone unconsciously revealed an inquiring tone. Xia Pingan glared at Xianing to warn him not to talk nonsense. However, Xianing deliberately turned a blind eye to it. "My brother said that last time, he and Sister Lingshan went on a mission together to chase down the demon rats. Sister Lingshan has short hair, looks valiant, beautiful, capable, and has a good figure. My brother even mentioned it to me a total of 5 times. Is that right, brother?" "This bastard." Xia Pingan glared at Xianing. Fong Lingshan glanced at Xia Pingan. She really didn't expect that Xia Pingan would praise her like that. Xia Pingan, on the other hand, was slightly embarrassed. That awkward appearance, in the eyes of Fong Lingshan, was exceptionally interesting. Fong Lingshan was cold and aloof to others. However, when it came to Xianing, after chatting with Xianing for a while and hearing Xianing call her Sister Lingshan, Fong Lingshan behaved very cordially. It was as if she was a different person. Xianing took the opportunity to tell Fong Lingshan that there was a problem with the house that she and Xia Pingan were renting. Therefore, Xia Pingan brought her to the hotel to stay. Fong Lingshan came here because she wanted to attend a friend's cocktail party. Now that she had something to do, she had to leave. Xia Pingan knew why Fong Lingshan left. It was because the lighting time was coming. When Fong Lingshan left, Xianing actually asked for Fong Lingshan's phone number. Xia Pingan was speechless. The two of them watched as Fong Lingshan left the lobby. Outside the lobby, she got into a black Lamborghini and disappeared at the door in the blink of an eye. The two of them entered the elevator. Xianing began to wink at Xia Pingan. "Brother, Sister Lingshan is not bad. You have another sister so quickly." Xia Pingan directly rewarded Xianing with a head bump. Chapter 45. Brother, the buffet in this hotel's restaurant is amazing. The ice cream and cake are delicious. But I have to go back to school tomorrow night. I won't be able to eat it for the next few days. I can't bear to leave. What should I do? The next morning, when Xia Pinggan and Xia Ning came out of the hotel's buffet restaurant after breakfast, Xia Ning, whose belly was round from eating, had a new worry. As a foodie, the Guangzhou Hotel's buffet restaurant was like eunuch Ma discovering a new continent for Xia Ning. We can't afford to go back for the next few days. I transferred some money to your card. If you need clothes, you can buy them yourself. Xia Pinggan said to Xia Ning, "Brother, you reported the case yesterday. Can we get our money back?" "Don't worry," Xia Pinggan replied confidently. "If the reporters from Optics Valley News Agency lost their money and guns in Shanghai City, and the suspects were two rascals who only knew how to play tricks, the police in Shanghai City would be too incompetent if they couldn't solve the case. Therefore, this case had to be solved. They had to give the person who reported the case an explanation." At this moment, Xia Pinggan's phone rang. Xia Pinggan took out his phone and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. Xia Pinggan answered the call. "Hello," a female voice said. On the other side of the phone was a female voice. "Is this Mr. Xia Pinggan?" "Hello, I am Officer Qianlan from the Shanghai City Police Station. My colleagues and I are currently in the lobby of the Guangzhou Hotel. We have already arrested the suspect who trespassed into your rented apartment yesterday. We have already interrogated him last night and have some results. Are you in the hotel lobby? Okay, I will come down now." After hanging up the phone, Xia Ning stuck out his tongue. "Brother, the police called you? You don't have to worry about it. I might not have time to accompany you today. We'll be moving in a few days. There's a computer in the hotel. You can use the computer to look for a suitable place and find a house. After I'm done with this, I'll go out and take a look. When I come back tonight, we'll discuss again and see where we'll move to." "All right." The two separated at the elevator. Xia Ning returned to his room, while Xia Pinggan took the elevator to the hotel lobby. Just as he walked into the hotel lobby, he saw two people sitting on the sofa in the lounge area of the lobby. They were a man and a woman. Both of them were dressed in casual clothes and looked very capable. The man was in his 30s. He had a crew cut and wore a black jacket. His eyes were sharp. The woman was in her 20s. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail. She was very pretty and wore an exquisite casual suit. The two of them were chatting, but their gazes were faintly focused on the elevator. Xia Pinggan directly walked over. Seeing Xia Pinggan walking towards them, the two people glanced at Xia Pinggan before standing up. "Mr. Xia Pinggan, nice to meet you." The woman smiled and took the initiative to reach out her hand to Xia Pinggan. She was enthusiastic and generous. "I am Qianlan, from the Public Relations Department of the Shanghai City Police Station. This is Lu Rue, the Deputy Captain of the Criminal Investigation Unit of the Shanghai City Police Station. The case you reported last night will be handled by the two of us." The Shanghai City Police Station had sent a beautiful police officer from the Public Relations Department and a Deputy Captain of the Criminal Investigation Unit to handle this matter. This was a gesture to show that the police attached great importance to Xia Pinggan's case. Xia Pinggan shook hands with the two police officers and then sat on the sofa in the lounge area. As soon as he sat on the sofa, Xia Pinggan opened his mouth. "I'm sorry to have caused trouble for the police station yesterday. If it was a small matter, I wouldn't have called the police if I could handle it myself. However, the situation yesterday was special. My residence was illegally invaded and I lost a lot of property, paintings, and work guns. Moreover, I encountered a death threat. I had no choice but to leave with my sister first and ask the police for help." Qianlan and Lu Rue looked at each other. Seeing that Xia Pinggan's attitude was calm, the two of them were actually relieved. Yesterday, the husband and wife were arrested and brought to the police station. After a round of interrogation, they were scared witless and confessed everything. The husband and wife were the new landlords. They did enter Xia Pinggan's rented house without Xia Pinggan's permission and found a locksmith to change the lock of the new house. Not to mention, if it was just changing the lock, it wouldn't be a big problem. More importantly, after the two of them entered Xia Pinggan's rented house, their hands and feet were not clean. They even rummaged through the house, taking away all the paintings hanging in the house and the 20,000 yuan that they found in the house. The reason why the two were so unscrupulous was because they heard that Xia Pingan was just a car mechanic with a sister. He had no power or influence and was the kind of person who could be easily bullied. Therefore, the two deliberately wanted to bully him and take advantage of him. According to the couple's explanation, Xia Pingan's lost painting had been found. It was in their house. The money they took from the house was only about 20,000 yuan. As for the guns, they had never seen them from the beginning to the end. When they heard that Xia Pingan was a reporter from the Optics Valley News Agency and that he had reported the loss of 500,000 yuan, a gun, and bullets, the husband and wife were so scared that they peed their pants. They cried in the interrogation room and swore that they only took those things. They did not see the gun or anything else and only took less than 30,000 yuan. After the two of them were interrogated separately and repeatedly confirmed, the police officers of Shanghai City had a rough idea of what was going on. The couple had kicked an iron plate this time. Xia Pingan, who had reported the case, wanted to teach them a lesson. Xia Pingan's Optics Valley News Agency reporter card and level 1 gun license had been verified by the police. They were real, and there was no problem. Then, the rest could only be done according to the rules. The two of them were caught red-handed. Therefore, no matter what Xia Pingan reported missing or how much money he lost, they had to bear all the responsibility. The common tricks of people in society, such as unreasonable family connections, and who they knew were a joke in the face of the iron fist and real procedures of the country's violence agency. We understand that Mr. Xia should have worked in a car repair shop in Shanghai City before. After a few people chatted, Lu Rue gently said from the side. Xia Pingan smiled and nodded. His expression did not change. Officer Lu is right. I did work in a car repair shop in Shanghai City before. I don't deny this. As for the relationship between my previous job and my current job, as well as the proof of the use of the gun and the source of income, Officer Lu, are you sure you want to know? If you really want to know, I can tell you. Looking at Xia Pingan's smile, Officer Lu felt a chill in his heart and quickly shook his head. After being in this line for a long time, Officer Lu knew very well that it might not be a blessing to know too much. What he said just now was just an indirect way of reminding Xia Pingan to stop. The gun case was pressing on the Shanghai City Police Department's head. The higher-ups also had some headaches and did not want to make it big. Qin glanced at Lu Rue and smiled. We respect your current job very much, Mr. Xia, but we will not interfere with the specific work content of Mr. Xia. Of course, we do not need our help. The problem now is that Mr. Xia's lost property and gun have not been found, but we have already captured and controlled the two suspects. There is a slight discrepancy between Mr. Xia's lost property and gun and their confessions, but I think it's not a big problem. It will probably only take a little time to find it. What do you think, Mr. Xia? Yes, I also think that this matter is not a big problem. As long as we control the people, we can slowly find the other things. After having a tacit understanding with each other, Qianlan and Lu Rue chatted with Xia Pingan for a while. Then, they went through the routine procedure and asked Xia Pingan to go to the police station to personally identify the suspects. Their car was parked outside. Xia Pingan followed them out of the lobby and took a car to the Shanghai City Police Station. In a room in the police station, through the one-way glass in the room, Xia Pingan once again saw the man and woman with the tattoos on his arms last night. The scars on the man's face had not healed yet. His nose was collapsed, and his teeth were cracked. Several of his front teeth had fallen out, and his face was terrible. Half of the woman's face was swollen, and her face was pale. Her eyebrows were lowered, and her eyes were sunken. The two of them were handcuffed and wearing prison uniforms. They were like weak chickens that had been fished out of a hot soup pot. They were escorted by several police officers to the identification room. They stood by the wall with high stripes and stood facing the one-way glass in a panic. Xia Pingan did not sympathize with the two of them. His principle of doing things was to be better when he met good people and worse when he met evil. Seeing that the two of them were not doing well, and that they would definitely not be doing well for a long time in the future, Xia Pingan was relieved and comforted. He nodded to Qianlan and Lu Rue beside him. That's right, it's the two of them. Chapter 46. After recognizing the person, Xiao Pingan got the key to his rental house again. He refused Qianlan and Lu Rue to send him back to the hotel. He walked out of the police station and went to a nearby bus stop. After waiting for a while, he saw the bus number 27 arrive. Xiao Pingan got on the bus and left. After such a thing happened, there was no way to stay in the rental house anymore. He and Xiaoning were going to move soon. However, before moving, he needed to confirm where he was going to move to. Since it was the weekend and he had time, Xiao Pingan was going to take the bus and wander around the city a few times to see where it was more suitable. After confirming the general area and the neighborhood he wanted to live in, he would look for an agent. This way, he would have a target and the efficiency of finding a new house would be higher. It was the weekend and there were no office workers, so there were not many people on the bus. Xiao Pingan took the bus and wandered around Shanghai City. When he saw a suitable neighborhood, he got off the bus and walked around the neighborhood to understand the surrounding environment. When he saw a suitable neighborhood, he first memorized the name of the neighborhood and left it for comparison later. Unknowingly, a morning and most of the afternoon passed. Xiao Pingan spent most of the day looking at more than 10 neighborhoods in Shanghai City. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Xiao Pingan, who had just finished looking at a neighborhood, came to the bus stop outside the neighborhood and got on the bus number 98. This bus was heading to the northern suburbs of Shanghai City. There were also several neighborhoods in the northern suburbs, and it was relatively close to Xianning School. Xiao Pingan also wanted to take a look and understand it on the way. When he got on the bus, there were still many empty seats. Xiao Pingan walked to the middle of the bus and found a seat to sit down. In front of Xiao Pingan sat a young couple. Behind him sat two aunties who were preparing to go on an outing. On the left sat a middle school student in a school uniform. In front of him were a housewife, an elderly couple, and a middle-aged man with a briefcase. On the bus, the two aunties at the back were chatting while the couple at the front was whispering sweet nothings to each other. The man was twirling the woman's hair with his fingers and whispering into her ear from time to time. The others were looking down at their phones numbly. The TV on the bus was still broadcasting the murder case at Lingshi building yesterday. In just over 10 minutes, Gao Qingshan's arrest warrant had appeared twice on the bus TV news program. However, no one on the bus cared about it. Xiao Pingan took out his phone and glanced at it. The Committee of Orders Implanted program hadn't reported anything about Gao Qingshan's situation, nor had there been any other mission notifications. This meant that Fong Lingshan and the others hadn't noticed anything strange when they lit up the lights last night. However, Xiaoning had just posted on his WeChat Moments. There were 3 photos in his WeChat Moments. One was a beautiful selfie of himself in the endless hot spring pool of Guangzhou Hotel last night. Another was a vanilla ice cream and a small cake in the hotel's buffet restaurant. The last photo was of Xia Pingan's back in the hotel lobby. The caption in his WeChat Moments read, "A single man who leaves his sister at Guangzhou Hotel when he's busy. He doesn't go to the hot spring, swim, or eat ice cream and small cakes. I don't even know what to say. You're so busy every day, but I don't see you bringing your sister-in-law home." Oof. It had to be said that Xianing's WeChat Moments had already grasped the essence of Versailles literature. Anyone who saw Xianing's WeChat Moments would probably have 3 judgments in their hearts. From the looks of his sister, Xianing, they could roughly infer that Xia Pingan's looks wouldn't be bad. To be able to leave his sister at Guangzhou Hotel meant that Xia Pingan wasn't lacking in money. At the very least, he had a decent income. Not going to the hot spring, not swimming, not eating ice cream and small cakes, and not bringing his sister-in-law home meant that Xia Pingan was a decent, young, and straight man who was immersed in his work and career. As for the photo of Xia Pingan's back in the hotel lobby, he was young, tall, strong, and had a hint of mystery. Seeing that Xianing was advertising his girlfriend, Xiao Pingan bitterly smiled. He sent a hammer-smashing sticker to Xianing's WeChat Moments. Xianing immediately replied with a funny face. Xiao Pingan smiled slightly. The bus passed by a few stations. When it arrived at the entrance of a park, the two aunties sitting behind Xiao Pingan agreed to get off the bus together. A middle-aged woman got on the bus. After a few minutes, the bus arrived at another station. The young couple got off the bus and 4 people got on the bus at the same time. A young, middle-aged couple brought along a 7 or 8-year-old boy and an old man. The old man was wearing a blue sweater and looked to be in his 60s. He wore a gray woolen hat and carried several shopping bags from the supermarket in his hands. The shopping bags were filled with things like pork ribs, potatoes, and celery. The middle-aged couple brought the little boy and sat in the 2 rows of empty seats in front. The old man, carrying the shopping bags, walked towards the back of the bus. It seemed that he wanted to sit in the seat of the young couple who had just left. Anyone who saw the old man would think that he was an old man who went to the supermarket to buy groceries on the weekend. They wouldn't pay much attention to him. Xiao Pingan didn't pay much attention to him at first. He just glanced at the old man and then moved his gaze away. However, when the old man came closer to Xiao Pingan, the space between Xiao Pingan's eyebrows suddenly jumped. The soul calming banner in the secret altar seemed to have sensed something and gently fluttered. This was the first time that Xiao Pingan had encountered such a situation. The soul calming banner floating on the white jade relief in the secret altar seemed to have been attracted by something and moved without any wind. The only thing that could make the soul calming banner react was a desecrated corpse. Thinking of the introduction of the soul calming banner that he had seen, Xiao Pingan was shocked. The old man was already dead. He was a walking corpse. Xiao Pingan lowered his head. Like the others in the bus, he swiped his phone idly, but his heart was already in turmoil. Yesterday, they were still looking for the Demon Eyes member who had fused with the brain-eating insect and the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating insect. They found nothing yesterday, but they didn't expect to meet one today. Since there was a living corpse here, it meant that Gao Qin Shan, or the Demon Eyes member, was still in Xiang'e City. Guo hadn't been found yet, but Teng had. F***CK. What kind of luck is this? He and Mo Yanxiao had been busy for half a day yesterday and didn't get anything. They thought that Gao Qin Shan might have left Xiang'e City. Mo Yanxiao and the others didn't find anything unusual when they came out to light the lamps last night. I went to the police station and took the bus in Xiang'e City for a day. I actually met one on the bus. This really matched the saying, "You can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by sheer luck." The other passengers on the bus didn't notice anything. They didn't notice that there was a moving corpse sitting on the bus and a summoner sitting on the bus. Everything was so horrifying. After figuring out the situation, Xiao Pingan remained calm and played with his phone with his head down. He didn't act rashly. After a few more stops, the 98 bus arrived at the outskirts of the city. The old man with the shopping bag got off the bus. The place where the old man got off was a small town on the outskirts of the city. There was a gas station on the side of the road, a bus stop, and a road leading to the town not far away. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, Xiao Pingan didn't get off the car at this stop. He just activated his long-range vision ability. From a few hundred meters in the air, he was like a goshawk, taking in the panoramic view of the situation on the ground from top to bottom. As long as he didn't get too close and observe from a close distance, like how he observed Mo Yanxiao previously, even if the person being observed also had the remote vision ability, it would be difficult to sense the gaze of others who had the remote vision ability from this angle and height. A few minutes later, a kilometer away, the bus arrived at another stop. Xiao Pingan got off the bus and stared at the old man with his remote vision ability. He walked quickly to the next bus stop and took out his phone. He immediately reported the situation to the Xiang'e City National Committee of Order. "Hello." A few seconds later, Mo Yanxiao's voice came from the phone. "I found a living corpse host that might be controlled by a brain-eating insect." Xiao Pingan said directly, "Where did you find it? What's the situation now?" Mo Yanxiao's voice suddenly rose a few octaves. He seemed to be in high spirits. Chapter 47. For Xiang'e City's National Committee of Order, the current priority after everyone's meeting yesterday was to determine whether the Demon Eyes member who had fused with the man-eating bugs was still in Xiang'e City. Xiao Pingan did not expect to make an important discovery today. Since the host of the brain-eating bugs was in Xiang'e City, it meant that the main body of the brain-eating bugs, Alpine Green, was also hiding in Xiang'a City. It was no wonder that Mo Yin Xiao was a little excited. I found a target by chance when I was on the bus. The target is still moving. I'm following the target, and the other party hasn't noticed that I'm following him yet. There might be more than one living corpse controlled by the man eating bugs, and the Demon Eyes member might be nearby. It's very dangerous. Don't act alone. Remember, don't act alone. Mo Yin Xiao reminded him solemnly on the other end of the phone. Don't come into contact with the target first. Just monitor. We'll locate your phone and rush over immediately. Of course, Xiao Pingan would not fight the Demon Eyes member alone. Wouldn't he be a fool to fight one-on-one when he could whistle for help? Okay, I understand. The target is still moving. It's about 1,000 meters away from my phone. I'll continue to monitor. After ending the call, Xiao Pingan put away his phone and walked quickly on the road. A few minutes later, under the gaze of Xiao Pingan's remote vision, he saw the old man walk to a small courtyard on the roadside of the town, more than 200 meters away from the bus stop. There were a few trees planted in the courtyard, and there was a small 2-story building with a single door. Most of the residents in this town lived in small independent buildings with courtyards. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, Xiao Pingan did not use his remote vision to invade the house to investigate. Instead, he monitored the courtyard from outside. More than 10 minutes later, Xiao Pingan came to a water bar in the town more than 200 meters away from the small building. He stared at the small building from a distance, ordered a glass of juice, and then took a few photos to Mo Yin Xiao and sent them. After a few minutes, the lights in the bar suddenly turned off and then turned on again. The light bulb flickered a few times. Is there something wrong with the town's transformer again? The owner of the bar who was wiping the bar looked up at the flashing light bulb and muttered, "Boss, does this happen often?" Xiao Pingan asked. "Not often. It's just that in the past 6 months, the town's circuit has been unstable occasionally. I heard that the transformer is a little old." The boss replied. Xiao Pingan nodded. 20 minutes later, the door of the bar was pushed open. Li Yunzhou walked in wearing a hat and a blue maintenance uniform of an electricity company. After buying a bottle of drink, he threw a glance at Xiao Pingan and raised his eyebrows at Xiao Pingan. After Li Yunzhou walked out of the bar, Xiao Pingan followed him out. After turning into the shade of a tree by the roadside, Xiao Pingan saw 2 yellow repair vehicles from the electricity company parked by the roadside. An escalator extended from one of the repair vehicles. On the escalator, 2 workers were inspecting the wires and transformers on 2 electric poles. There was another repair vehicle parked by the side. Li Yunzhou got on the vehicle from the back door. Seeing that no one was paying attention, Xiao Pingan also got on the vehicle. The vehicle looked like an electricity company's repair vehicle from the outside, but there was something else inside. Mo Yin Xiao, Tu Polu, and Li Yunzhou, who were wearing the electricity company's uniform, were in the vehicle. The car was filled with high-tech and complex electronic and monitoring equipment. The small courtyard as the target had been completely monitored. What's the situation now? Who's the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating insect? Mo Yin Xiao asked directly when he saw Xiao Pingan enter the vehicle. I found that the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating insect is an old man. After the old man entered the courtyard, he didn't come out. I didn't want to alert the enemy, so I didn't use my ability to investigate the situation inside. Xiao Pingan replied, "You handled it correctly." Young Master Moyen praised. That member of the Demon Eyes has fused with a brain-eating insect, so his senses are very sharp. Moreover, we're not sure what kind of ability he had before. If that member of the Demon Eyes also happens to have the remote viewing ability and is hiding in that room, you might be discovered if you use your remote viewing ability to observe at close range. Xiao Pingan nodded. He thought so too. Tu Polu stretched out his hand and patted Xiao Pingan's shoulder. Not bad. You've made a contribution. Yesterday, we were still scratching our heads in the meeting. We didn't know if the Demon Eyes member was still hiding in Xiang'a City. I didn't expect you to find a target today. This means that the Demon Eyes member is still in Xiang'a City. Even if he's not in that courtyard, we can still follow the clues and find the Demon Eyes member. Li Yunzhou, on the other hand, looked at Xiao Pingan with a strange expression. He rubbed his chin with his hand and said, I say, your luck is too good. You can even meet your target on the bus. Why don't I have such good luck? It's not just one bus. I've taken countless buses today and wandered around the city all day. Boy, I didn't expect you to not rest on the weekend and still look for the Demon Eyes member alone. Good job. Tupolu looked at Xia Pingon with approval. Ahem, I'm not looking for the Demon Eyes member. I want to find a suitable rental house. I had a falling out with the landlord of the house I rented earlier, so I was probably kicked out by the landlord and have to find a place to move. Xia Pingon spread his hands and told the truth. It was a complete accident that I met the living corpse. Tupolu and Li Yunzhou were immediately speechless. The two of them did not know much about Xia Pingon's family situation. Only Mo Yinxiao had been to Xia Pingon's place and knew a little about it. Boss, Xia Pingon is too pitiful. He actually wants to rent a house. You should apply for some extra work for him and buy a big villa in Shanghai City in minutes. How much money can it cost? What kind of house can he rent? If those guys from the provincial department knew that a summoner from the National Committee of Order in Shanghai City is so poor that he needs to rent a house, they would laugh their heads off. This will affect our image. Li Yinzhou said to Mo Yinxiao. Tupolu also looked at Xia Pingon sympathetically and patted Xia Pingon's shoulder with his big hand again. I didn't expect to know a summoner as poor as you. I can brag to others in the future. Xia Pingon was also speechless. He was just renting a house. It was very normal. Was there a need to be so poor and exaggerated? Why did they make it sound like he was worse off than a beggar? Mo Yinxiao tapped on the keyboard in front of him a few times, and an old man's photo and household registration information appeared on the car's monitor. Is this the old man you've been keeping an eye on? Xia Pingon glanced at the photo and household registration information and nodded. Yes, it's him. On the household registration information, the old man's name was Sun Defeng. He was an old man who lived alone and did not have any children by his side. The Committee of Order was like a terrifying national machine. When it was seriously operating, its efficiency was terrifying. In just a few minutes, the electricity and water consumption data of Elder Sun Defeng's place for the past year, shopping records, and roadside surveillance data were all retrieved and analyzed. From the results of the analysis, Elder Sun Defeng was the only one living in that house. There was no one else. Of course, in the current situation, because of the lag and fragmentation of the data analysis, it was impossible to tell from the data whether there was anyone else hiding in Elder Sun Defeng's house. So soon, two different sets of action plans were drawn up. Operation Plan Number 1. After a while, the employees of the electric power company would enter the houses of the residents in the town to check the circuits. At that time, Mo Yinxiao, Tupolu, and Li Yunzhou would pretend to be employees of the electric power company and enter Elder Sun Defeng's house to check and confirm. After the three of them entered, if they found that the Demon Eyes member was hiding in Elder Sun Defeng's house, then the three of them would immediately take action to kill the Demon Eyes member in Elder Sun Defeng's house without causing too much of an impact. Xia Pingon, Chao Xinghua, and Qing and Fong Lingshan would hide around the house and carry out the first circle of control to prevent the Demon Eyes member from escaping. If the three of them found that the Demon Eyes member was not in Elder Sun Defeng's house after entering, then the three of them would withdraw and carry out Operation Plan Number 2. Operation Plan Number 2 was that the Special Operations Department would monitor Elder Sun Defeng on the spot and wait for him to come into contact with the Demon Eyes member. Man-eating insects were terrifying, but they had a characteristic. There had to be close contact between the main body and the host body every 9 days at most. Otherwise, the host body might lose control. Therefore, as long as the Special Operations Department kept an eye on Elder Sun Defeng, they would definitely be able to track down the Demon Eyes member who was still hiding in Shanghai City from the people he came into contact with and eliminate this huge hidden danger to social order. After dark, the repairmen of the electric power company began to enter the houses of the residents of the town to check the circuits. Xia Pingon, who was wearing a headset, also left the electric power repair vehicle and came to the shade of a tree by the roadside 80 meters away from Elder Sun Defeng's house to hide. Chao Xinghua and Qing and the others also entered their respective positions. Thousands of meters in the sky, A drone hovered in the sky, completely locking onto the streets and houses of the town below. Further away were the two commando teams and snipers who had already entered their battle positions. Two falcons hovered in the sky, further away, ready to give chase. The inescapable net had been set up, and the operation began. Mo Yanxiao, Tu Pelu, and Li Yunzhou wore hats and the uniform of the electric power company as they got out of the vehicle with toolboxes. The three of them began to inspect the houses of Elder Sun Defeng's two neighbors. After a while, the three of them arrived outside Elder Sun Defeng's yard and rang the doorbell. After waiting for a while, the elder came out of the house and opened the door. The three of them explained their intentions and then entered Elder Sun Defeng's house together. The expected chaos and conflict did not happen. The three of them came out in less than 5 minutes after entering the house. Then, Xiao Pinggan heard Mo Yanxiao's voice in his headset. All teams, pay attention. The primary target is not inside. Switch to plan number 2 and monitor the place closely. Night fell completely. The electric power company's vehicles and personnel withdrew, and the town's electric circuit and power supply were restored to stability. The lights of the town and the city complemented each other. Meanwhile, a small building for rent about 100 meters away from Elder Sun Defeng's house also welcomed a new tenant. The hidden surveillance equipment outside Elder Sun Defeng's house had been set up. A simple bronze lamp quietly lit up in the room. The Special Operations Division began to work. Xiao Pinggan, who had just eaten a bowl of instant food and was staring at the surveillance footage in the room, received a call from Xiaoning. Xiaoning said over the phone that she had found a few alternative places and wanted to discuss it with Xiao Pinggan. The unit suddenly had to work overtime, so I won't be coming back tonight. I walked around the city today and found a few alternative places. After this busy period, let's go look at the houses again. We can consider renting one that's closer to your school. It'll be convenient for you to go home, too. Xiao Pinggan said to Xia Ning apologetically over the phone. Because Xia Pinggan's requiem banner could completely restrain the host body of the brain-eating insect, Xia Pinggan's weekend off was over. He had no choice but to work overtime in advance and join the surveillance team to prepare for any unexpected situations. Xiao Pinggan hung up the phone and realized that the others in the room were looking at him sympathetically. Director, let's get Xiao Pinggan a job that can earn some extra money. A job that requires the use of the Requiem banner can be done once. It's not expensive to buy a villa. Even Qing said to Mo Yanxiao. Was it very profitable for summoners to take jobs? Buying villas at the drop of a hat. Xiao Pinggan had some doubts in his heart. Xiao Pinggan just became a summoner. There's still a long way to go. There's no such thing as a poor summoner. Don't worry, he's no exception, Mo Yanxiao said lightly. Xiao Pinggan's poverty was not an act. It was real. Last time, he only gave Xiao Pinggan tens of thousands of yuan, and Xiao Pinggan was tricked into chasing after the devil rats. However, last time, Xiao Pinggan was tricked by that bastard Yin Duo into carrying out a mission in the Death Corner Arena. The extra reward for that mission should be quite good. He would know in a few days when he received his salary. Chapter 48. From a human's point of view, Elder Sun Defeng was already dead. Now, he was just a walking corpse without any self-consciousness, just the host body of a brain-eating insect. But from a biological point of view, he was not completely dead because his body still had vital signs and could still metabolize. From the Committee of Order's point of view and the legal point of view of this era, he was indeed dead. He was a special case of death due to parasitic death by space-invading creatures. He could be treated as a living corpse of a brain-eating insect. It was just that the people in the town did not know that Sun Defeng was dead. Every morning, Xiao Pinggan watched the living corpse leave his yard and go to the town's street garden to exercise with the town's old people. He followed behind the aunties who were dancing in the square and moved his hands and legs to exercise his body. Looking at a living corpse living in the middle of the crowd, exercising and square dancing. This feeling was very frightening, but the other people around Sun Defeng did not notice his abnormality. The seemingly quiet city did not lack these strange things that could make people's eyes pop out. All the actions of the living corpse were not autonomous, but were remotely controlled by the brain-eating insect. Because Elder Son Defeng lived alone, the result of the Special Operations Division's analysis was that the member of the demon's eye who had fused with the brain-eating insect would not take the initiative to come into contact with Elder Son Defeng's residence. It would be too eye-catching. The most likely possibility was that the member of the demon's eye would control Elder Son Defeng's time out and find opportunities to contact Elder Son Defeng in public. This way, they could find the main body of the brain-eating insect according to Elder Son Defeng's pattern of activity. The interval between the main body of the brain-eating insect and the host body could not exceed 9 days, and each close contact should be at least 5 minutes. There also needed to be obvious physical contact. Elder Son Defeng's life was very regular. He went to exercise every morning, went to the suburban park every 3 days, and went to the supermarket in the city every 4 days. He usually spent most of his time in the town. Speaking of the suburban park, according to the information previously obtained by the Special Operations Division, one of the missing people who were dismembered and sacrificed in the cold storage went missing near the suburban park. The tracks of the two coincided with each other. After 2 days of observation, Xiao Pingan discovered that the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating insect would carry a small bottle of ether and a handkerchief with it every time it went out. It was used to kidnap people when they were unprepared. Not many people would be on guard against an old man who was strolling in a suburban park. However, this old man was a living corpse controlled by a brain-eating insect. It was normal for the host to actively search for food and sacrificial items. This speculation was frightening, but it was close to the truth. After ruling out those old ladies and old men who did exercise and square dance together with Elder Son Defeng one by one, the focus of monitoring Elder Son Defeng was on his trips to the suburban park every 3 days and the supermarket in the city every 4 days. During Elder Son Defeng's 2 outings, anyone who had been in contact with Elder Son Defeng alone for more than 5 minutes and had obvious physical contact with him would be a key target. Because of Xiao Pingan's remote viewing ability, the heavy responsibility of monitoring Elder Son Defeng when he went out fell on Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan did not need anyone to follow him to monitor Elder Son Defeng. He only needed to watch from a few hundred meters away with his remote viewing ability. Xiao Pingan watched Elder Son Defeng for 4 days and watched him go to the town to exercise 4 times, play mahjong, and drink tea 3 times, and go to the suburban park once. During this period, Elder Son Defeng came into contact with some people, but those people were not members of the Demon Eyes. On Wednesday, 4 days had passed since Elder Son Defeng last went to the supermarket. On this afternoon, Elder Son Defeng took the bus to the supermarket. Li Yunzhou drove a very ordinary SUV and followed behind the bus. Xiao Pingan sat in Li Yunzhou's car. He was not on the bus, but he was paying attention to every move on the bus. Behind the Yunzhou's car was a surveillance vehicle disguised as a city transport bus that Tupalu and Qing and the others were riding. There were not many people on the bus, and there were people coming and going. Fortunately, no one on the bus wanted to have any prolonged physical contact with an old man, so it was not difficult to monitor the bus. After 7 or 8 stops, the bus finally entered the crowded downtown area of Xiang City. Elder Son Defeng got off here, and Xiao Pingan also got off behind him. The host has already gotten off and is walking toward the supermarket. I'm following behind the host, more than 100 meters away. On the bus, just now, I didn't find anyone who had physical contact with the host. Xiao Pingan reported in a low voice as he shuttled through the crowd, maintaining contact with Mo Yin Xiao and the others at all times. Xiao Pingan's neck was near the back of his ear, and there was a small piece of bionic tape the same color as his skin. If one did not touch it with their hands, they would not be able to discover it. There was a small communication device in the bionic tape that could collect and transmit sound through the vibration of the skin. The communication device was connected to Xiao Pingan's cell phone, and the signal was transmitted to the surveillance vehicle through the cell phone. It was very convenient. The supermarket is very crowded, and it's in the public area of the city. We didn't find any close contact between the host and the Demon Eyes members a few days ago. Today is the 4th day we've been monitoring the host. It's very important, and we have to be careful. If the interval between contact between the host and the living corpse is 8 days, today is the most likely day to find the target. And Qing's gentle voice sounded in his ear. Understood, seeing that the old man had already gone down the escalator of the supermarket in front of him. Xiao Pingan walked through the crowd, ran to the entrance of the elevator on the other side, went up the elevator, and ended the call. The supermarket was in the downtown area, on the 2nd floor of the shopping center. Even during the day, there were many people. In such a place, an old man shopping would not attract attention at all, and at the same time, the difficulty of monitoring him would greatly increase. Xiao Pingan did not dare to relax. Even though he was not by the old man's side, his remote vision ability was always staring at the old man. The old man did not enter the supermarket first. Instead, he continued upstairs to the shopping mall on the 3rd floor and walked around. This abnormal behavior immediately attracted Xiao Pingan's attention. Xiao Pingan did not follow him into the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. Instead, he wandered around a cosmetics counter outside the mall, pretending to want to choose cosmetics for his girlfriend. The host has entered the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. Xiao Pingan immediately reported, "There are fewer people in the shopping mall on the 3rd floor, so it's easy to be tracked. I'm outside the shopping mall on the 3rd floor." The host's behavior is a bit strange. It seems like he's repeatedly checking if he's being followed. Be careful. Do not get too close. The host's actions are controlled by the host. This might be the host confirming if he's being followed. The host might return to the supermarket again. Understood. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, the old man did not have any physical contact with anyone in the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. He took the escalator down from the 3rd floor and entered the supermarket on the 2nd floor. Xiao Pingan changed to a different spot on the 3rd floor. He did not follow him into the supermarket. Li Yinzhou had already entered the supermarket and was waiting to take over the monitoring. Xiao Pingan used his remote vision ability to monitor from the outside. The supermarket was a key area, so the two of them were monitoring it together. The old man bought some groceries in the supermarket. Other than having some indirect physical contact with the salesperson, he did not do anything out of the ordinary. The salesperson was only with the old man for less than 3 minutes, which was not enough to satisfy the condition of the brain-eating worm's main body and host body. The old man carried the groceries and left the store. He then paid the bill and left the supermarket. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Xiao Pingan was confused. Was the old man's shopping trip just a normal activity? But the old man's behavior on the 3rd floor was obviously strange. Just when the old man came out of the supermarket and Xiao Pingan thought that he would leave, the old man turned half a circle and came to the entrance of the shopping center from the supermarket's exit. He put the groceries he bought into the locker and then walked to the men's bathroom on the 2nd floor of the shopping center. Bathroom? Why didn't I think of that? Xiao Pingan reacted instantly. However, he was not agitated. He used his remote vision ability to follow the old man to the men's bathroom. In the men's bathroom, there was a row of independent cubicles. Xiao Pingan saw the old man enter the men's bathroom and came to an independent cubicle. After closing the door, the old man suddenly knelt on the ground. Under the cubicle next to him, a hand quietly reached out. The old man knelt on the ground. His body twisted and wriggled. He stuck out his tongue like a snake and gently licked the hand that reached over. People who did not know what was going on would think that this was some kind of perverted behavior. They would not think that this was how the host of the brain-eating host contacted its host. This scene was too disgusting, horrifying, and painful to the eyes. Xiao Pingan, who saw this scene, was shocked. He was worried that he would be sensed, so he immediately shifted his view from the old man kneeling on the ground to the long glass in the bathroom. Using the remote, indirect view, he observed the situation in the bathroom through the mirror in the bathroom. The remote vision ability's indirect vision was the least likely to be discovered by others. After about 6 or 7 minutes, the sound of flushing came from the cubicle next to the old man. The door of the cubicle opened. A well-dressed man in a gray suit and a blue shirt, in his 50s, who looked like a successful person, walked out of the cubicle with a brown briefcase under his arm. He walked to the sink, washed his hands, and looked at himself in the mirror. The man in the mirror had nothing special about his face. However, his slightly gloomy eyes had a hint of Gao Qingshan's shadow. "Finally, I've locked onto you." Xia Pingan calmed his mind and immediately reported, "The Demon Eyes member who is fused with the brain-eating host's body has locked onto him. He's walking out of the bathroom on the west side of the second floor of the shopping center. It's a man. He's wearing a gray suit and a blue shirt with a brown briefcase under his arm. He's walking toward the fourth elevator of the shopping center." "Found him." Mo Yinshao's voice came from the headset. "We've connected to the surveillance system in the shopping center. We've confirmed the target you mentioned." And Qing's voice came. A few minutes later, the targeted Demon Eyes member drove out of the parking lot of the shopping center in a car. He did not know that he had been locked onto. Outside, the Special Operations Division and a high-altitude drone had locked onto the man's car. The Committee of Order had mobilized the public safety and road surveillance systems of the entire Xianghe city to firmly lock onto the man. Xia Pingan also quietly handed over the mission target. From this moment on, the old man's body, which had been exposed and posed a low threat, would be tracked and controlled by another quick reaction team of the Committee of Order. When Xia Pingan and the others took the initiative to attack the brain-eating host, they would eliminate it. Xia Pingan met up with the other members of the Special Operations Division and firmly locked onto the Demon Eyes member who had fused with the brain-eating host body. The Demon Eyes member was a homicidal maniac with special abilities. Judging from the corpses in the cold storage, this was not the first time this person had made a sacrifice. The Special Operations Division could not let the Demon Eyes member escape again. Chapter 49. The night was dark, and the bright moon in the sky had gradually become round, hanging brightly in the sky. Most people in Xianghe City had already entered deep sleep. On the side of the road in the western suburbs of Xianghe City, an inconspicuous moving truck was parked on the side of the road near a residential area. Like other moving vehicles, the moving truck was tightly packed, and there was nothing unusual about it. On the truck's compartment was an advertising phone number of a famous moving company in Xianghe City. Many people had a look at the time of day to move, and they would only start moving at the right time, so it was not unusual for them to move in the middle of the night. Anyone who saw this car would think that it was a moving vehicle for a family in the residential area. In the truck's compartment, the 7 people from the Special Operations Division of the Xianghe City Committee of Order had all gathered. There was expensive and complicated electronic equipment in the truck's compartment. At this moment, on a huge electronic display in the compartment, the frontal photos of 2 middle-aged men appeared on the left and right sides of the electronic display. The photo that appeared on the left was of Gao Qingshan, who was wanted, and the photo that appeared on the right was of the Demon Eyes member that Xia Pingan had locked onto today. The latter's name was Miss Zhao, and she was the owner and legal person of Xianghe City's Miss Natural Resources Regeneration Company. To put it bluntly, she was the owner of a company that specialized in collecting scrap copper and iron. On the side of the road, more than 200 meters away from this car, was the factory area of Xianghe City's Miss Natural Resources Regeneration Company. The appearances of the 2 people on the display were completely different, but their gloomy gazes were exactly the same. After the analysis and comparison of the past data of Gao Qingshan and Miss Zhao by the Information Center, the real Miss Zhao is probably dead. The Miss Zhao we see now is Gao Qingshan's appearance after fusing with the brain-eating insect. This is his backup identity in Xianghe City, so when we act later, our target will be Miss Zhao. And Mo Yinshao's voice sounded in the car. He was holding a laser pointer in his hand and making the final arrangements. On the electronic display, another map appeared. This is a map of the factory area of Xianghe City's 1,000 Gold Natural Resources Regeneration Company. After the investigation during the day, there are 11 workers in the factory area. Previously, there were many missing people in Xianghe City, and the scope was wide. Their whereabouts were hidden, and it was difficult to detect. They changed their transportation means many times. This arrangement can't be done with just the demon's eye member who has fused with the brain-eating insect and a few hosts. Therefore, what we can be sure of is that the 11 workers in the factory should all be the hosts of brain-eating insects. Even if they are not hosts, they are lackeys of the demon eye. Those people have been deeply involved in the previous disappearance and murder cases. These hosts will be dealt with together when we take action later. Mo Yinxiao looked at Xia Pingan, pointed at an area in the factory area with the laser pointer, and gave Xia Pingan the mission. You have the Requiem flag. When we take action later, I'll hand over all these hosts to you. These hosts live in this dormitory building in the factory area. After you deal with these hosts, guard this position and block the possible escape route of the demon eye member from the factory area. The others' gazes also fell on Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan nodded calmly. Old Chow, you and Lingshan will block here. This is the road between the factory area and the residential area. No matter what happens in the factory area, your mission is to ensure that nothing rushes from the factory area to the residential area and causes harm to the people in the residential area. Chao Xinghua and Fong Lingshan nodded. And Qing, you guard here and command the other 2 assault teams on the periphery. Don't let any fish escape from this operation. And Qing also nodded. Old 2, Li Yunzhou, and I will be in charge of the frontal assault. We will enter the small building of the demon eye member who has fused with the brain-eating insect and eliminate the target. Mo Yinxiao's gaze swept across everyone's faces. Is everyone clear? Everyone nodded in agreement. Mo Yinxiao looked at his watch and said firmly, You have 1 minute to check your equipment and then take action. Xia Pingan also checked the equipment on his body. In fact, he didn't bring much. He only had his Manuel MR98, 36 pure silver bullets, a dagger, and a Black Cobra steel whip. Pistols, daggers, steel whips, and bullets were all mounted on the special tactical cape on his body. The tactical cape looked like a well-tailored vest that was bulletproof and stab-proof. It didn't look cumbersome at all. The tactical cape was specially made for Xia Pingan by Lao Zhou. The waist of the tactical cape just happened to have a leather cover to store the Black Cobra steel whip, with a jacket and a suit on top of the tactical cape. Even if he attended a dinner party, no one would notice anything unusual. Is there a problem with the use of the Requiem flag? Mo Yinxiao asked Xia Pingan. No problem. I already know how to use it. Xia Pingan shook his head. 1 minute passed quickly. The door of the truck opened, and the 7 members of the Special Operations Division quickly left the truck and blended into the night. They each went to their respective positions. After igniting the Divine Fire Realm bead, the summoner was no longer afraid of the dark and had the ability to see in the dark. As soon as Xia Pingan got out of the truck, he dragged a bit of divine power from his sea of consciousness to the ancestral acupoint in his eyes. His eyes instantly turned cold, and the dark night outside became clear in Xia Pingan's eyes. Everything in the dark could be seen in the faint red light. Xia Pingan followed Mo Yinxiao, Tu Palu, and Li Yunzhou like 4 black cheetahs. They passed under the green belt on the side of the road. In less than half a minute, they had traveled more than 200 meters and arrived at the corner of the courtyard of Thousand Gold Natural Resources Regeneration Company. From the outside, the courtyard was piled with scrap metal and cars. For a place like this, the wall outside the courtyard looked very casual. It was only about 2 meters tall, and the things piled up in the courtyard were taller than the wall outside. The 4 of them rushed to the corner of the courtyard and easily flipped over the wall. There were 2 dogs in the courtyard. The 2 dogs had just noticed the abnormality and didn't have time to bark before Li Yunzhou took out the silent tranquilizer gun he carried with him. With 2 soft pops, the 2 dogs quietly fell to the ground. Mo Yinxiao, who had rushed forward, made a hand signal to Xia Pingan. The 4 of them split up in the courtyard. Xia Pingan directly rushed toward the dormitory building where the 11 employees lived, while Mo Yinxiao, Tu Palu, and Li Yunzhou rushed toward the other building. The 2 buildings were about 50 meters apart on the east and west sides of the factory. But the moment Xia Pingan and Tu Palu separated, the window of the building where Miss Zhao lived suddenly broke open with a bang. A black shadow pounced out of the window and ran outside without thinking. Although it was night, Xiao Pingan still saw that the black figure was Miss Zhao, whom he had seen during the day. Miss Zhao, who had pounced out of the window, was only wearing a pair of shorts. Her eyes were flashing red, and her expression was exceptionally ferocious. We've been exposed. This thought flashed through Xiao Pingan's mind. The four of them actually dared to rush over and were discovered. Miss Zhao's vigilance couldn't be so high, so there was something wrong with that dog. The planned surprise attack had turned into a forceful attack in an instant. They absolutely could not let this member of the Demon Eye who had fused with the brain-eating insect escape. Once that person escaped, who knew how many people would suffer? Li Yunzhou aimed the tranquilizer pistol at Miss Zhao, and within a second, he fired all the tranquilizer bullets in the pistol at Miss Zhao. The tranquilizer bullets in the pistol were naturally useless against Miss Zhao, but they could delay her movements slightly. Miss Zhao's figure twisted strangely in the air and avoided most of the tranquilizer bullets. 2 tranquilizer bullets hit her body, but they seemed to be stuck by something just as they pierced her skin, and the tranquilizer bullets fell from the air. Fire! Mo Yanshao shouted coldly, and a blazing flame ignited the darkness of the factory. It flew out from his side and accurately hit Miss Zhao's figure. Miss Zhao's entire body burned and turned into a torch flying in the air. Kill! Tupolu roared angrily. With a large saber in his hand, a layer of golden light flashed on the blade. He leaped up like an eagle and slashed at the burning figure flying in the air. Slurp! A sound was heard. Miss Zhao's skin and body were burning fiercely, but the skin on her stomach and crotch cracked open. A bloody monster drilled out of the burning skin like a banana squeezed out of a banana skin and landed on the ground. Tupolu cut the burning skin in the air into 2 pieces, and the 2 burning pieces of skin burned to ashes when they landed on the ground. The monster that landed on the ground looked a little like a human, but it did not look like a human. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth, the spine on its back protruded like a reptile, and its limbs were like the tentacles of an octopus. Red light flashed again, and Li Yunzhou and Mo Yanshao summoned 2 slave soldiers holding spears. The slave soldiers led the charge and pounced at the bloody monster. On Xiao Pingan's side, when Miss Zhao rushed out of the window of the small building, the 2 doors of the employees' dormitory were also pushed open. 11 tough men in underpants and singlets rushed out of the dormitory at once. They were all holding machetes, axes, wooden sticks, and even chainsaws. The person who rushed out had bloodshot eyes and an aggressive aura. As soon as he saw Xiao Pingan, his face turned ferocious like a wild beast as he rushed towards Xiao Pingan. He wanted nothing more than to chop Xiao Pingan into meat paste. After that, Xiao Pingan summoned his soul-pacifying banner for the first time. He stretched out his right hand, and a red, white, yellow, and black banner appeared in his hand. The banner was taller than a person, and there were some mysterious and obscure symbols on it. The pole supporting the banner looked like a black wooden pole. As soon as the soul-pacifying banner appeared, the movements of the 11 beast-like people who were charging towards Xiao Pingan suddenly became sluggish. Their originally sinister faces were instantly replaced with expressions of fear, and the 11 of them let out beast-like screams. Xiao Pingan lightly waved the soul-pacifying banner in his hand, brushing it towards the 11 people charging over. Just as they were about to reach him, spots of black light flew out from their heads and were absorbed by the soul-pacifying banner. Then, the 11 people charging over all fell straight to the ground at the same time like straws that had been cut down. The 11 people's faces turned pale from grim and fearful. Their bodies gradually became stiff, and they stopped breathing in a split second, as if they had fallen asleep, and turned into corpses. Xiao Pingan didn't expect the soul-pacifying banner to be so powerful. At this time, the human-shaped, brain-eating monster in the distance also let out a sharp and ear-piercing shriek. That shriek was indescribably sharp and ear-piercing. Although they were dozens of meters apart, Xiao Pingan felt his head buzzing as soon as he heard that shriek. He instantly felt nauseous and dizzy. Xiao Pingan turned around and saw that blood-red humanoid monster covered in wounds, with one of its arms chopped off and a large hole pierced through its stomach by a spear. At this moment, it actually broke through the encirclement of the two slave soldiers and two Polish trio and rushed towards Xiao Pingan. F***CK. What are you looking for me for? Are you taking revenge for your host, bastard? Or are you trying to escape from me? Chapter 50. The Requiem banner was useless against the brain-eating insect. Seeing the monster charging at him with a frightening momentum, the Requiem banner in Xiao Pingan's hand instantly disappeared. The silver Manuel Embark 98 instantly appeared in Xiao Pingan's hand. Bang, 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 bang. For consecutive shots were fired. The 50 Magnum silver bullets flew out from the muzzle of the gun, instantly hitting the monster 3 times in its chest and 1 in its head. Xiao Pingan saw 4 blossoms of blood blossom from the monster's body. 4 bloody holes appeared on the monster's chest and head, but that was all. They weren't fatal to the monster, but the huge energy of the bullets still caused the monster's body to freeze for a moment. Be careful. Tupolu's warning came from afar. Mo Yanxiao, Li Yinzhou, and the 2 slave soldiers had already rushed over. Mo Yanxiao waved his hand, and another fireball flew out. The high-temperature fireball arrived in the blink of an eye. The monster turned its head, opened its mouth, and spat out a large glob of disgusting green mucus at the fireball. The mucus wrapped around the fireball and made a sizzling sound. The mucus and the fireball simultaneously turned into a black mist and dissipated. The bit of mucus that dripped onto the ground instantly condensed into a layer of white frost. The monster dodged Mo Yanxiao's fireball, but it couldn't dodge Li Yunzhou's fireball. Li Yunzhou's fireball was hidden behind Mo Yanxiao's fireball. This was a beautiful tactical combination. Mo Yanxiao's fireball was responsible for attracting the monster's attention and wasting its reaction time, while Li Yunzhou's fireball was responsible for hitting and killing the target. The moment the first fireball dissipated, the second fireball directly hit the monster's body. The monster's entire body instantly burst into flames. But in the midst of the flames, the monster's body revealed a crack from its crotch. A pitch-black thing, covered in mucus and black carapace, about the size of a 4 or 5-year-old child, like an armadillo, drilled out from under the monster's body. It left the burning carapace behind, and under the cover of the thick black smoke, it once again charged at Xiao Pingan. The burning carapace instantly turned to ashes, but the monster once again escaped. Fuck! The abilities of this man-eating insect's body were really strange. Bang bang. Xiao Pingan continued to fire. The powerful pure silver bullets hit the monster's mucus-covered carapace, but they actually made 2 crisp sounds like they hit a steel plate. They were unable to penetrate the monster's body. Furthermore, that thing's speed was extremely fast and its body was small, making it extremely difficult to deal with. Against this monster, bullets seemed to be completely ineffective. The silver Manuel Embark 98 was instantly inserted back into the holster. Xiao Pingan's body flew back, and at the same time, he already held the black cobra steel whip in his hand. Just when a monster was within 2 meters of Xiao Pingan's steel whip lashed out. The armadillo-like monster was not the target of Xiao Pingan's black cobra steel whip. The end of the steel whip suddenly wrapped around the railing of the 2nd floor of the dormitory building 7 or 8 meters away. Xiao Pingan's body suddenly jumped up like a swing and flew over the monster's head, avoiding the monster's bloody mouth. The monster thought that it had forced Xiao Pingan to retreat, so it lowered its head and rushed into the distance, wanting to break out of the encirclement. However, as soon as Xiao Pingan's body landed, the black cobra in his hand shook again, and the steel whip flew out of his hand. The whip flew in a circle like a lasso, and it immediately wrapped around the monster's waist. The armadillo-like monster was small, had thick armor, and was fast, but its strength was not Xiao Pingan's opponent. Xiao Pingan fiercely pulled, and the monster that wanted to fly away was fiercely pulled back by him. The monster let out a scream, and used the momentum to counterattack Xia Pingan. It opened its mouth, and a strange snake-like head covered in scales stretched out from its mouth. It bit at Xia Pingan's head like a drill. At the sight of that strange snake, Xia Pingan recalled the devil's eye's eyeball in the cold storage, which had a hole in its head and had its brain sucked dry. Xia Pingan instinctively lowered his head, only to feel a fishy wind brushing past his scalp. It was a close shave. With a flip, he exerted strength in his hands. The body of the monster wrapped in the black cobra was pulled by Xia Pingan like a spinning top, and was thrown back in the direction of Tu Palu and the other two who were charging over. Seeing that Xia Pingan had stopped that monster, the three people who were chasing after him were greatly spirited. Tu Palu roared angrily and rushed to the front in an instant. He leaped up, and the big saber in his hand created a dazzling saber light in the air. The black shell of the monster that even bullets could not break was directly cut open by the big saber in Tu Palu's hand like a hot knife through butter. That armadillo-like monster was directly split into two halves by Tu Palu's saber and fell to the ground. The green blood that spilled out corroded the ground with a sizzling sound. The two halves of the corpse on the ground were still wriggling and struggling. It was not completely dead yet. Although the strange, snake-like body that the monster spat out had already been split into two halves, it was still wriggling on the ground. Xia Pingan walked over and felt his hair stand on end. The true Holy Advent is about to arrive. That strange snake-like head emitted a hoarse human voice, cackling strangely, echoing in the night. None of you can escape. The true Holy Advent is about to arrive. This plane will ultimately be ruled by the demon god sovereign. All of you will die and become our slaves. Kiki, the true Holy Advent. Mo Yanxiao waved his hand expressionlessly, and a ball of flame gushed out from the ground. In the blink of an eye, the monster's body was completely burned into a pile of pitch-black ashes. Finally, this monster was killed. It stopped. The real holy arrival? The demon god dominator? Xia Pingan remained expressionless, but the monster's last words made his heart tighten. He felt that the brain-eating insect's last words had a deep meaning. A dying monster spat out information before its death. It seemed that there was no need for it to pretend. Furthermore, this monster might not have the psychological need to pretend. Brat, you did well. Tu Polu grinned as he patted Xia Pingan's shoulder. Mo Yanxiao glanced at Xia Pingan. Are you okay? I'm fine. Xia Pingan glanced at his black cobra. When the steel whip coiled around the monster, it was covered in a layer of mucus. It seemed that he had to give it to Lao Zhou to disinfect when he returned. Haha, why don't you see who brought out the newcomer? Li Yinzhou laughed at the side and began to pretend to be a big shot again. Before coming, I told him that this brain-eating insect had many changes and told him to be careful. As expected, this member of the Demon Eyes could shed his shell twice after fusing with the brain-eating insect. The third shedding ability was almost completed. Fortunately, we killed him. If we let him complete the third shedding, who knows how many people would have been killed in the process. No one paid attention to Li Yinzhou and let him boast. In addition to pretending to be a big shot, this guy's work was quite reassuring. Xia Pingan's performance today was absolutely remarkable. First, he used the soul-pacifying banner to easily take care of the 11 brain-eating worms' hosts, clearing away the outer perimeter and interference of the factory. Then, when the brain-eating worms' main bodies wanted to escape, he decisively and successfully sniped them, creating the conditions for Tu Polu's final kill. As a newcomer carrying out such a dangerous mission for the first time, Mo Yanxiao and Tu Polu could not find any fault with Xia Pingan. Moreover, it was Xia Pingan who had discovered and locked onto this member of the Demon Eyes. And Qing, Chao Xinghua, and Feng Lingshan finally rushed into the factory. The battle just now, from beginning to end, lasted less than half a minute. The dangers involved were unimaginable to the people outside. Seeing that everyone from the Special Operations Department had arrived, Mo Yanxiao waved his hand. Everyone split into two teams. Search carefully and see if there's anything else here. This factory area occupied a large area, and there were many sundries inside. Although the member of the Demon Eyes was killed, they did not know if there was anything else hidden. Soon, everyone found something under the factory's dormitory building. There was a secret passage under the dormitory building that connected to a huge basement. In one of the basements, there was a foul stench and countless maggots. In a 1,000-square-meter pit, there were 200 to 300 rotting broken limbs piled together, forming an even larger sacrificial totem of the Demon Eyes. Seeing the huge totem of the Demon Eyes, everyone in the Special Operations Department changed their expressions. The little sense of accomplishment from killing the member of the Demon Eyes disappeared without a trace. This was already the third demon eye that had been discovered in Shanghai City recently. Moreover, this demon eye had existed for a longer time than the previous two, and more people had been sacrificed to it. On the other side of the basement, there were more than 10 dungeons. In each of the dungeons were 4 terrified children who had been abducted. One of the little girls was wearing a dirty red dress. She had just been abducted less than 2 days ago. After confirming that the children were fine, Xia Pinggan and the others quickly covered their eyes and brought them out of the basement and immediately sent them to the hospital. Too many people had died in the sacrifice of the demon eye, and the brain-eating monster had said that the true holy arrival was coming. This was very important information. The Shanghai City National Committee of Order reported it to the provincial ministry as soon as possible. But in Xia Pinggan's mind, the 2 sentences that the monster had said before it died kept echoing. The true holy arrival. The demon god overlord. Xia Pinggan could understand that the true holy arrival should refer to a larger-scale space invasion. However, this was the first time Xia Pinggan had heard the term demon god overlord. Chapter 51. The next morning, in the meeting room of the Special Operations Division of the Shanghai Committee of Order, the 7 summoners of the Special Operations Division woke up early in the morning and came here after breakfast. Although they had successfully dealt with a member of the Devil's Eye yesterday, the atmosphere in the meeting room was not relaxed this morning. Instead, it was a little solemn. When everyone returned to the base last night, it was almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, the summoners had a secret to quickly enter deep sleep. After sleeping for a few hours, everyone appeared in the meeting room energetically this morning. The person presiding over the meeting was Mo Yinshao. Some of the information and details of yesterday's operation had to be reviewed this morning and then reported. The results of the DNA test are out. There are a total of 272 limbs of the Devil's Eye in the big pit under 1,000 Gold Natural Resources Regeneration Company. All of them are illegal immigrants from Mexico of the southern continent. They were deceived by the Devil's Eye to come to Shanghai City and were killed collectively. The Devil's Eye has been completed for more than 4 months. Because they were immigrants who were smuggled in, the Shanghai City Police did not receive a missing person report. We also did not discover a Devil's Eye of such a scale hidden there before. Mo Yinshao's tone was a little solemn. Due to the country of fire's developed economy, the people's standard of living was high, and the social welfare was good. It was difficult to stop illegal immigrants from the southern light continent and South America from sneaking into Great Yin. Every year, countless illegal immigrants braved all kinds of dangers and entered Great Yin through various channels. Preliminary estimates showed that there were more than 7 million illegal immigrants living in Great Yin, and there were many more every year. However, Shanghai City was not the first choice of these illegal immigrants to settle down in the past. Therefore, the local government and the police were a little lax in their investigation in this regard. After these illegal immigrants entered Great Yin, even if they died, as long as they did not die in a public place, almost no one would know. The Devil's Eye took advantage of this and set up such a terrifying sacrificial ceremony for the Devil's Eye in Shanghai City. The Devil's Eye was the coordinates and torch of a spatial invasion. During this period, 3 Devil's Eyes had been discovered in Shanghai City. Those Devil's Eyes were each more evil than the last, and each had more people sacrificed than the last. That was the most dangerous signal. Shanghai City could encounter a large-scale spatial invasion at any time. In other words, a spatial invasion that far exceeded the scale of the past was imminent. No one knew when it would erupt like a volcano. This was the reason for the heavy atmosphere in the conference room. The provincial department has already reported it to the headquarters. Because it hasn't been long, the large-scale demon sacrifices hidden in other cities haven't been discovered yet. But what we can be sure of is that what we found last night is definitely not the only one. There must be demon eyes similar to or larger than this hidden in other cities. The demon eyes have been planning for a long time. To be able to bring so many illegal immigrants to Shanghai City, the problem exposed by this matter is not small. The headquarters is already organizing elite forces to start with the foreign snake-headed pipelines and border control and begin investigating. Xia Pingan did not say anything. He was trying to mend the pen after the sheep were lost. But in terms of time, it was probably too late. Judging from the huge crater last night, the number of victims of the sacrificial rituals set up by the devil in Great Yin over the past few months might exceed everyone's imagination. Therefore, the upcoming space invasion would most likely exceed everyone's expectations. It was just a small operation, but there were too many things that were implicated behind it. It made people feel a little frightened. Chao Xinghua, who had been quiet all this time, said, "In that case, the situation in Shanghai City is only the tip of the iceberg in the Great Fire Country. Many cities in the Great Fire Country, including Shanghai City, might encounter an unprecedented spatial invasion in the near future. Yes, today's meeting is a mobilization meeting. The main purpose is to let everyone understand the grim situation we're going to face next, and to start preparing for it." Mo Yinshao nodded. At this time, Old Long, Old Chun, and the others who are still on vacation or carrying out missions outside should be back by now, right? Tupolu asked. Mo Yinshao continued. They received orders yesterday and will be back soon. In order to deal with the upcoming space invasion, the provincial department has decided to form the Demon Suppression Guard again this morning. Next week, everyone might receive a summons from the provincial department. Some of us will be selected to join the Demon Suppression Guard. No matter who is selected, please be prepared. Whether it's the Demon Suppression Guard or Shanghai City, they'll be able to play a role in resisting the space invasion. Xia Pingan turned his head and asked softly in a voice that only Li Yunzhou could hear, "Senior, what kind of organization is the Demon Suppression Guard?" The Demon Suppression Guard is a summoner's firefighting brigade organized by the provincial department. The number of Demon Suppression Guards at the provincial level can range from a few hundred to more than 1,000. When there's an emergency, like this time, the provincial department will transfer some of the elite forces from the Committee of Order and Society to form a summoner's mobile troop. This troop will be used to flexibly deal with large-scale and sudden space invasions. Li Yinzhou also turned his head and explained to Xia Pingan in a soft voice. Hearing Xia Pingan, who was already a summoner, call him senior, Li Yinzhou felt like he was floating in the air. It was very cool. Xia Pingan nodded silently. This was indeed the right thing to do. Under special circumstances, instead of letting the Committee of Order of each region act independently to deal with space invasions that could happen at any time, the provincial department might as well organize an elite force in their hands. This would ensure that they could provide support to areas with abnormal situations at any time. This was a more efficient use of their current strength. Although he had made some contributions when he returned yesterday, Xia Pingan's mood was still not relaxed. Since we have to deal with unexpected situations, will the provincial department distribute the divine power replenishing pills according to wartime standards? Fong Lingshan asked. In the past May, we've dealt with too many accidents and unexpected situations. Everyone's divine power is running low. I don't know either, but today is already the 13th. In a few days, it'll be payday. Everyone will know. Mo Yinshao spread his hands and said helplessly, "I know that everyone has been using up a little too much divine power recently. So from tonight onwards, we'll light up the lamps according to the order of duty. Let's use the patrolling method. 2 people will be dispatched every night, and the rest can rest." The salaries of the Order Committee and the pills to replenish divine power were all given out on the full moon night of the 15th lunar month. This was a summoner's tradition. The full moon night of the 15th lunar month was the 17th of June in the Gregorian calendar. It was close to the day of receiving the salaries and pills. Xiaopinggan was looking forward to the salary this time. He had spent a lot of money these days, and he was about to be busy looking for a new house. There would be a lot of expenses. With the Committee of Order's salary, even if he did not work for a full month, it would be enough to solve his urgent needs. Hearing that everyone would take turns to light up the lamps from tonight onwards, the people in the conference room heaved a sigh of relief. The Special Operations Division had dealt with the Demon Eyes member last night, and the commotion was not small. It was unlikely that there were still Demon Eyes members lurking in Xianghe City. In any case, the Special Operations Division had drawn their swords yesterday. This was a deterrent to the various forces that might still be hiding in Xianghe City. Xianghe City should be able to rest for a few days, and the people of the Special Operations Division could also rest. At this moment, Xiaopingyan's phone vibrated with a buzzing sound. Everyone in the conference room stopped and looked at Xiaopingyan. Because they did not know if there would be an emergency, the personnel of the Special Operations Division could bring their phones in during such meetings. The caller was Officer Qian Lan, the female police officer from the Public Relations Department of the Xianghe City Police Station. Xiaopingyan did not answer, but hung up. "What's the matter?" Mo Yinshao asked. "It's nothing. It's just a little personal matter. I'll call again later." Xiaopingyan put away his phone. He, a female police officer, called. Li Yinzhou had sharp eyes and saw the caller on Xiaopingyan's phone. "Your girlfriend?" Seeing that in Qing, Feng Lingshan, Tu Palu, and even Mo Yinshao and the others were staring at his face, Xiaopingyan was helpless. He did not expect a summoner to be so gossipy. Xiaopingyan was a little embarrassed. "Ahem, not my girlfriend. I had a dispute over renting a house. I reported it. This is the female police officer who handled the case." Hearing Xiaopingyan mention the matter of renting, everyone looked at each other and felt that it was interesting. A dignified summoner, a summoner of the National Order Council, actually had trouble renting a house. This was too interesting. Chao Xinghua suddenly said, "I have a villa in Xianghe City. I rarely go there. If you don't have a place to stay for the time being, you can stay at my place. I won't charge you rent. You just have to help me clean up. I think it's more comfortable to live here." Thank you, but it's okay. I still have a sister. That would be too much of a bother. This is just a small matter. I'll take care of it. I won't trouble everyone." Xiaopingyan politely refused. Xiaopingyan's performance yesterday had made everyone in the Special Operations Division recognize him. They completely regarded Xiaopingyan as a member of the Special Operations Division. Even Chao Xinghua's attitude towards him was much better. "Ahem, let's continue talking about yesterday's matter." Mo Yinshao pulled everyone back to the topic of the meeting. "Through the review, we found that there was an oversight in last night's operation. It was this oversight that caused last night's operation to almost fail from the beginning. We encountered a huge risk. I'll mention it here. I hope everyone will take it as a warning. The next time we meet, we won't make the same mistake again. The mistake in last night's operation was caused by a dog. No one had expected that the member of the Demon Eyes would actually treat a dog as his host. The main body of a brain-eating insect was a human, and using a dog as the host of a brain-eating insect had a natural flaw. It would make the main body of the brain-eating insect unable to completely control the dog's actions. But correspondingly, there was also an advantage. Once the dog as the host encountered an accident, the main body could also quickly sense it. Yesterday, Xiaopingyan and the others raided the factory. As soon as Li Yinzhou took out a whisper tranquilizer pistol and shot the two dogs, the member of Demon Eyes immediately sensed it. This was where the problem lay. After reviewing yesterday's operation, the meeting ended. After everyone walked out of the meeting room, Xiaopingyan took out his phone again and dialed Officer Qianlan's number. "Hello, Officer Qian. It wasn't convenient for me to answer the phone just now. What's the matter?" Xiaopingyan asked as soon as the call was connected. "The landlord's family has found a lawyer. The lawyer wants to find an opportunity to talk to you, Mr. Xia, and see if he can get your understanding. I think Mr. Xia can also communicate with the other party's lawyer first. The tactful hint in Officer Qianlan's tone was very clear. Mr. Xia, when is it convenient for you? I'll bring the lawyer to meet you and have a good chat. Xia Pinggan's spirits were slightly lifted, and a smile appeared on his lips. He knew that the person who delivered the money was here. He said directly, "Then let's meet at 2 o'clock this afternoon in the tea room of the Guangzhou Hotel." "Okay. See you in the afternoon then." As long as there were no missions, the Special Operations Division's work arrangements were very flexible. It was fine as long as they did not run out of Shanghai City. Xia Pinggan happened to be able to go out in the afternoon to settle some personal matters and resolve the dispute over the house. Chapter 52. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Xia Pinggan appeared at the Guangzhou Hotel's tea house on time. As soon as he entered the tea house, Xia Pinggan saw Officer Qianlan and a middle-aged man in a suit and glasses sitting in a corner of the tea house chatting about something. Xia Pinggan walked toward the two of them. Officer Qianlan noticed Xia Pinggan and stood up. Then, the middle-aged man in a suit and glasses also stood up. Today, Qianlan was wearing a light blue woman's suit and high heels. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders like a beautiful white-collar beauty. "Hello, Mr. Xia." Officer Qianlan smiled and shook hands with Xia Pinggan. Then, she introduced the middle-aged man in glasses to Xia Pinggan. "This is Lawyer Mu Yuan." "Lawyer Mu, this is Mr. Xia Pinggan." "Hello, Mr. Xia, hello." The lawyer seemed very enthusiastic and quickly shook hands with Xia Pinggan. "The two of you can chat. I'm here today to introduce you. If you have any questions, you can call me again." Seeing that Xia Pinggan had arrived, Officer Qianlan carried her blue bag and left with a smile. After Qianlan left, only Xia Pinggan and Lawyer Mu were left in the tea house. Lawyer Mu stood up and politely poured a cup of tea for Xia Pinggan. As he poured the tea, he said respectfully, "Mr. Xia is really young and promising. You joined the Optical Valley News Agency at such a young age. You will definitely have a bright future." "Lawyer Mu, you're too polite. I'm in a hurry today. Can we get to the main topic quickly?" Xia Pinggan said directly. Straightforward. Lawyer Mu sat down. "My client is deeply sorry for the harm and inconvenience caused to Mr. Xia and Mr. Xia's sister previously. The two of them have already regretted their impulse back then in the detention center these few days. I'm meeting Mr. Xia this time to apologize to Mr. Xia on behalf of my client. Secondly, I also want to discuss with Mr. Xia how to settle this matter as soon as possible." "What does Lawyer Mu mean by settling this matter?" Xia Pinggan asked with a smile. "Well, my client has indeed not seen Mr. Xia's lost work gun. As long as this gun is not found, this case will not be settled. This will not only bring huge pressure to my client, but the Shanghai City Police Department will also be under pressure." Lawyer Mu spoke to Xia Pinggan carefully. Behind his eyes, the adult's slightly oily and cunning eyes stared unblinkingly at Xia Pinggan's face. "I'm a victim. Mr. Xia Pinggan's Mr. Xia. Mr. Xia Pinggan's family's house. I know that Mr. Xia is a victim. Previously, when my client rummaged through Mr. Xia's house, the house was a bit messy. However, he did not see the gun, and the money he took was less than 30,000 yuan. I think there might be some misunderstanding. Maybe the gun is still in the house, and the other money that Mr. Xia lost may also be somewhere else in the house. Mr. Xia, why don't you take some time to go back and look for it again? Maybe you can find it." As Lawyer Mu spoke, he took out a bank card from his body and pushed it from the table to Xia Pinggan. "Lawyer Mu, what do you mean by this? There's 500,000 yuan in this card. It's an anonymous bank card. The password is the first 6 digits of the card number. This is my client's family's financial compensation and apology to Mr. Xia. Our client knows that Mr. Xia can't go back home these days. It's expensive to stay in a hotel outside, and it's inconvenient. That day in Mr. Xia's house, my client also broke some things in the house. This is a little compensation. I hope Mr. Xia can accept it." Xia Pinggan smiled, glanced at Lawyer Mu, and took the bank card without hesitation. "Okay, I accept this apology. I'll find time to move out of the house in a few days. When I move, I'll look again to see if the gun and money that I reported missing are anywhere in the house. Thank you so much, Lawyer Moose said happily. In his heart, he sighed. It was easy to communicate with smart people. He could earn his lawyer's fee steadily. As for his client, for Lawyer Moo, who understood the case, to be honest, he deserved it. It was common sense in the law to not break the lease. Taking advantage of the fact that he was the new landlord, he broke the door lock and entered the tenant's house to take things. This was already considered theft, and he even made a scene. This time, he kicked an iron plate and provoked someone he couldn't afford to provoke. He had no one to blame but himself. Then again, if it weren't for these idiots, he wouldn't be able to earn money from his job. Lawyer Moo, you're a law student. Let me ask you, if my gun and the missing money are found, what will the court decide in the end? Mr. Moo adjusted his glasses and said, well, my two clients trespassed on private property, took away Mr. Xia's belongings, and threatened Mr. Xia's personal safety. From a legal point of view, this is considered burglary and provocation. If they can get Mr. Xia's forgiveness and find the lost firearms and other savings in time, the court may consider it as a case of burglary and provocation. Considering their repentance and compensation to Mr. Xia, the court will deal with it as a case of burglary and provocation. The sentencing standard should be about 2 years. Okay, I have no more questions. Xiao Pingon stood up and was ready to leave. I'll find time to go home and look for it in the next few days. If I find the things that I lost, I'll call Officer Qianlan directly. This is my business card. Mr. Xia, if you encounter any legal problems in the future, you can come to me. Lawyer Moo bowed slightly and handed over a business card with both hands. Xiao Pingon took it and looked at it, put it away, and then shook hands with Lawyer Moo to say goodbye. 500,000 yuan in hand. When he walked out of the hotel, Xiao Pingon secretly sighed in his heart. The saying that there were no poor summoners was true. When he encountered such a situation where they would rather hit their heads and bleed to put money in his pocket, he would feel sorry for the couple if he didn't accept it. After being beaten up by society, the couple should learn to be more honest. After walking out of the hotel, Xiao Pingon took out his phone and sent a message to Xiaoning. Go home on Friday and make a pot of soup. A few seconds later, Xiaoning replied, yeah. Smiley face, Xiao Pingon walked to a nearby bus stop, waited for a bus, and finally took the bus away. On the street outside the hotel, under a big tree, Officer Qianlan was sitting in a black SUV. The driver was Officer Lu Rue, the deputy captain of the criminal investigation team of the Shanghai City Police Station. Seeing Xiao Pingon walk to the bus stop and take a bus away, Lu Rue looked at Qianlan. This great reporter Xia is too thrifty. He actually took a bus here? He just took 500,000 yuan. Does the Light Valley News Agency have such a poor resident reporter? Maybe the great reporter Xia just likes it? Officer Qianlan also looked at the leaving bus with interest. Without needing her to say anything, Officer Lu Rue had already driven and quietly followed Xiao Pingon's bus. 40 minutes later, Xiao Pingon changed buses twice. Finally, he got off at the parking lot outside the Shanghai City National Committee of Order and walked toward the entrance of the Shanghai City National Committee of Order. Qianlan and Lu Rue, who were sitting in the car parked far away by the side of the road and followed Xiao Pingon here with a camera, looked at each other and sucked in a breath of cold air. Xiao Pingon walked to the entrance of the National Committee of Order, and the door opened automatically. Before entering, Xiao Pingon turned around and waved at Qianlan and Lu Rue, who were sitting in the car a few hundred meters away. He found us. Lu Rue's expression changed slightly. Delete all the photos you took today. Qianlan looked at the camera in his hand. Her beautiful eyebrows furrowed slightly as she smiled bitterly. The higher-ups definitely don't want to cause any inexplicable trouble. If we bring the photos back, it'll be our own trouble. As Lu Rue spoke, he took out the memory card in the camera, broke it, and threw it out of the car window onto the road outside. He couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Those two idiots still don't know who they've provoked. They think they're the landlord and dare to mess around. They've already shown mercy and taught them a lesson. Otherwise, they would have died for nothing if they were killed on the spot. When Xia Pingan returned to the headquarters, he realized that the night duty schedule of the Special Operations Division had already been arranged. Next Monday, it would be Xia Pingan's turn to light up for the first time, but the good news was that he and Qing were in the same group. Going to light up with a beauty like Qing and spending a long night with her shouldn't be too uncomfortable. Chapter 53. Phew, I'm finally home. At 5 o'clock on Friday evening, Xia Pingan and Xia Ning, the two siblings, each carried 2 suitcases. They walked up from downstairs and stood at the door of the rented house again. The two just went to the supermarket together and bought 4 sturdy and durable suitcases. Then, they took 2 separate cars back to the community. One car couldn't fit 4 suitcases. The suitcases weren't heavy, but they were too big to carry. Because they were preparing to move, there weren't enough suitcases at home, so Xia Pingan and Xia Ning went to buy a few this afternoon. Xia Pingan took 2 of the biggest ones, and Xia Ning took 2 smaller ones. The 2 siblings each took 2 suitcases from the community entrance and climbed to the roof. Xia Pingan was fine, but Xia Ning was already shaking her sore arms. Her eyebrows were knitted together. "Brother, it's so heavy. If we want to move, we really need to buy a car. Why don't we get some money from your housing fund first? Like just now, it's not easy to take a taxi with these suitcases. We have to move until we're half dead. It's expensive to hire someone to help us move. It's not worth it, and let's go look for a car this weekend," Xia Pingan said as he took out the key and opened the door. "Really?" Xia Ning's eyes widened. She seemed very excited. "And really?" Xia Pingan nodded. They needed a car to move, and they also needed a car to go to the headquarters. More importantly, in the face of a larger space invasion, they didn't know when it would come. If there were some extreme situations, it would be more convenient to have a car to take Xia Ning and run away. When he got the 500,000 yuan yesterday, Xia Pingan was already thinking about buying a car. The 2 siblings entered the house. The house was a bit messy. Many things were turned over in a mess. It was even messier than the last time the 2 siblings came back. But fortunately, although things were a bit messy, there was no damage. They just needed to tidy it up. "You tidy up. I'll go to the kitchen to cook dinner first." Xia Pingan put down the suitcase and said to Xia Ning, "Okay." Xia Ning agreed. The 2 siblings got busy. Although the things in the house were a bit messy, Xia Ning's gluttony was aroused when she thought about eating Xia Pingan's fragrant pot soup tomorrow. She began to tidy up the things in the house. As for Xia Pingan, he started to get busy in the kitchen. He took out things like sea cucumbers, mushrooms, abalones, shark fin, chicken, shrimp, and vegetables, and began to busy himself in the kitchen. These things were stored in the refrigerator for a week's time. First, he took out the sea cucumbers and abalones and soaked them in water for tomorrow. As for the other things, he could make a meal today. Xia Pingan was like a chef, fiddling in the kitchen. In less than an hour, a pot of fragrant rice, a plate of tomato shrimp, a plate of braised chicken, a plate of sautéed cucumber, and a bowl of cabbage and tofu soup were ready. Xia Ning also tidied up the house. The 2 siblings sat at the dining table, smiled at each other, and ate. After dinner, Xia Ning pressed Xia Pingan onto the sofa, made a cup of tea for Xia Pingan, and turned on the TV. "Brother, thank you for the delicious dinner. Brother, you've worked hard. Now, brother, please take a rest and have a cup of tea. The rest will be left to your capable sister." Xia Ning was in the kitchen, and the TV was broadcasting the news of Shanghai City. After a few minutes, Xia Pingan saw the news that Gao Qingshan was found dead by the police. The place where Gao Qingshan was killed was the factory full of waste that night. After the Committee of Order dealt with that place, it was handed over to the police. The terrifying devils had been cleaned up and did not appear on the TV screen. In addition to murder, Gao Qingshan, who was killed, was also charged with several crimes: child abduction and illegal harboring of stowaways. Seeing such news, Xia Pingan's eyes narrowed slightly. The Committee of Order did not want to cause panic among the people. This was understandable because countless history had proven that the consequences of fear of a space invasion might be worse than the space invasion itself. However, for Shanghai City, A large-scale space invasion was already an imminent matter. Glancing at Xia Ning, who was humming and washing the dishes in the kitchen, Xia Pinggan felt that he had to prepare early. Xia Ning quickly washed the dishes, then came out of the kitchen, sat cross-legged on the sofa, and began to discuss moving with Xia Pinggan. Xia Ning had seen a lot of houses on the internet this week and did a lot of homework. When it came to residential areas and houses, he was like a trained agent. The location of the residential area, direction, environment, greenery, property fees, building age, residential groups, Xia Ning spoke clearly and logically. Looking at Xia Ning introducing and analyzing the residential areas to him, Xia Pinggan was silent and felt a little inexplicable guilt in his heart. In his previous life, he had no relatives. In this life, he only had this sister. In the past, he always wanted to hide his ability and worry about too many things. He did not take care of Xia Ning enough. This Qingshan Garden District is one of the few districts I've chosen. This district is less than 2 kilometers away from our school, and it meets your requirements very well. There's a commercial center within 500 meters of the district, and the reputation of the properties in the district is good. The district was built less than 7 years ago, and the houses are still relatively new. There are also many young people living here, but the price is slightly more expensive than the one we're living in now. There are more than 40 houses for rent in this district, and the houses are all pretty good. Xia Ning took out his phone and opened the webpage while introducing Xia Pinggan to the places he had his eyes on. Xia Ning, who was talking, did not notice that Xia Pinggan was looking at him with a slightly apologetic gaze. Ning, this time we won't be renting. Let's move to a hotel for a while. Xia Pinggan suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Don't you like the Guangzhou Hotel? Let's stay there." Xia Ning was stunned. "Brother, do you think Guangzhou Hotel is a small hotel? Staying there for a day is more expensive than renting for a month. I didn't tell you before, but the landlord's lawyer found me yesterday and compensated me with 500,000. Xia Pinggan took out the bank card and placed it on the table. "With this 500,000, we can stay at Guangzhou Hotel for 3 to 4 months. You'll be on summer break soon, and I won't be home often. It'll be more convenient for you to stay at Guangzhou Hotel." "Brother, you really compensated me with 500,000. Xia Pinggan nodded. "There's still 20,000, and the police still have to return it." Xia Ning was completely stunned. When Xia Pinggan called to report the case, she heard it. She thought it would end up as an argument, but she did not expect that Xia Pinggan would really receive 500,000 in compensation. 500,000 was a huge sum to Xia Ning. At the same time, this sum of money was unimaginable to Xia Ning. Xia Ning took the 500,000 card and jumped up on the sofa. She was so excited that she jumped and shouted, 500,000! 500,000! Great, great! Xia Ning jumped for a while until she was tired. She stopped and hugged Xia Pinggan's neck. "Brother, with this 500,000 and the 120,000 we saved for the housing fund, we could buy a house. Or we can get a loan to buy a bigger house. A bigger house can be your wedding home. I'll say this first, I only want one. Brother, you won't chase your cute and capable sister away, right? All right, what kind of house do you want to buy?" The Fire Country was vast and sparsely populated, so the development of real estate was not abnormal. All the houses were well furnished, and there were no public stalls. The housing prices were not too far away from the average person. In a 3rd or 4th tier city like Shanghai City, a villa worth 2 to 3 million in the suburbs was already very good. "Let's stay at the Guangzhou Hotel for a few months first. We'll talk about the house later," Xia Pinggan said. Xia Ning was shocked and touched Xia Pinggan's forehead. "Brother, you don't have a fever, right? Why do you want to stay at such an expensive place? The last time I stayed there for 2 nights, my heart ached. I can't even make it up to my friends." "Because Guangzhou Hotel has the best underground shelter in Shanghai City and the strictest security measures. Well, I'm not with you. Guangzhou Hotel is the safest place for you." "Underground shelter," Xia Ning mumbled to himself. She seemed to have thought of something, and her face changed. "Brother, don't tell me. It's good that you know. Your brother's money isn't so much that I can treat Guangzhou Hotel as my home. But during critical times, a few 100,000 is nothing. I can still tell the difference. Xia Pinggan touched Xianing's head. Just treat it as the previous landlord treating us to a hotel as an apology. It's decided. We'll go buy a car tomorrow and then move to the hotel on Sunday night. Okay, go to your room and pack your things. Xia Pinggan took out the authority of an older brother and directly made the decision. Xianing nodded and didn't argue. He returned to his room and began to pack his things. Xia Pinggan smiled, took out his phone, and called Officer Qianluan. The phone rang twice before it was picked up. Hello, Mr. Xia. Officer Qian's voice on the phone became gentler and more polite. Officer Qian? Yes, I went back to the rental house to search again today. Previously, the house was too messy and I couldn't find some things. I searched carefully today and found that my lost gun and bullets are still there. They're not lost, they're still in the rental house. Most of the money has also been found. After checking, I only lost about 20,000 yuan and a few paintings. Yes, my principle as a person is to never falsely accuse a good person. We can't let people suffer unjust treatment for a little bit of money. We have to be realistic. All right, that's it. Then I'll have to trouble you. After peeling off a layer of skin from that trash couple, this matter was more or less over. The night was silent. Early the next morning, after eating breakfast at home, Xia Pinggan brought Xianing to buy a car. The two of them went straight to Shanghai City's largest second-hand car market. For an old driver and mechanic like Xia Pinggan, the condition of some fine second-hand cars was definitely more reliable than a new car. The key was that the price of a second-hand car was much cheaper than a new car, so he planned to buy a second-hand pickup truck in a better condition. Chapter 54. At noon on Sunday, Qianluan carried a box and went to the unit where Xia Pinggan and Xianing lived. Just as she entered the hall downstairs, she saw a naughty child rolling on the ground in the lobby, crying loudly and acting shamelessly with an auntie. Grandma, I want to eat. I want to eat this. It smells so good. It's here again. Grandma, I want to eat. The auntie complained helplessly to the security guard in the lobby's mailroom. Seriously, who's cooking this soup on the weekend? Every time it arouses my little grandson's craving, he's going to make a scene. The security guard in the mailroom stuck his head out of the window, sniffed, and swallowed his saliva. It feels like someone's cooking upstairs. How can there be such a fragrant soup? It comes every few weeks. It's really killing me. Yeah, this soup is too fragrant. I wonder who's cooking it. The old granny looked at her grandson with heartache. Last time, I knocked on every door and said that I wanted some soup for my grandson, but no one opened the door for me. Qianluan also smelled the fragrance. It was a very special fragrance that made one's appetite soar. The fragrance floated in the building. It seemed to have floated down the stairs, but it also seemed to have floated in from the outside. Miss, who are you looking for? The security guard in the mailroom looked up and saw a beautiful girl in a long dress walking into the lobby with a box. Out of duty, he opened his mouth and asked, I'm a friend of Xia Pinggan. I'm here to look for him. Qianluan replied, Oh, Xia Pinggan. He lives on the top floor. Just follow the stairs. The security guard in the mailroom said, Okay, thank you. Qianluan naturally knew which room Xia Pinggan lived in. Qianluan followed the stairs upstairs. When she reached the stairs, she heard the security guard and the old granny whispering behind her. Finally, a girl came to look for Xia Pinggan. I thought Xia Pinggan was going to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. This girl is quite pretty. Why would she take a fancy to that Xia Pinggan? He's just a car mechanic. He's honest, dutiful, and has no money. The old woman also muttered. Hearing the discussion of the uncle and aunt downstairs, Qianluan had a strange expression on her face. She was the first girl to come here to look for Xia Pinggan. Xia Pinggan is honest and has no money? Regardless of whether the first sentence was true or not, the landlord and his wife, who had paid 500,000 yuan and had to eat in jail, would definitely not agree with the second sentence. The higher he went, the stronger the fragrance that reverberated in the building. The fragrance was mellow, rich, and fresh. There seemed to be the smell of seafood, but when he sniffed it, he felt that there was also the smell of chicken soup. In short, it was hard to describe. Although Qianlan was not a glutton, the fragrance still made her mouth secrete saliva crazily. She felt a little hungry. No wonder that brat was rolling around downstairs. But soon, Qianlan arrived outside Xiaoping's house. She first looked at the door number and found that it was correct. Then, she pressed the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong. The doorbell was only pressed twice. After a few seconds, the security door opened. Qianlan saw a delicate and pretty girl around 18 or 19 years old sticking her head out from behind the door and looking outside carefully. Ah, who are you looking for? Qianlan smiled. You're Xiaoning, right? I'm Qianlan. I made an appointment with your brother. I'm coming over this afternoon to deliver the paintings and money you lost. Ah, your big sister Qian. My brother said that you're beautiful and capable. Please come in. Xiaoning's eyes lit up when he saw Qianlan. He quickly opened the door and invited Qianlan in. As soon as Qianlan entered, Xiaoning quickly closed the door, as if he was afraid that the air in the room would run out. The smell in this room? As soon as she entered the room, Qianlan's nose twitched. She realized that the fragrance in this room was even stronger. Could it be that the fragrance that the entire building could smell came from this room? Brother, big sister Qian is here. Xiaoning called out to the kitchen. Then, a voice came from the kitchen. Okay, please take a seat, Officer Qian. The soup is almost ready. I'll bring it out and we can eat. That irresistible aroma was coming from the kitchen. Big sister Qian, you came at the right time. You can have a meal with us and try my brother's soup cooking skills. Xiaoning, who brought Qianlan to the dining room, winked at Qianlan. Qianlan wanted to refuse and say that she had already eaten lunch, but when the words reached her mouth, they somehow became, that fragrance is the soup that big brother made? Not bad. Isn't it fragrant enough? Xiaoning said proudly. That's my brother's specialty. He's the only one in the world who can make such a delicious soup. Then it seems that I'm in luck. Qianlan smiled. As she spoke, Qianlan saw Xiaopinggan, who was wearing an apron, walk out of the kitchen with a large bowl of fragrant soup pot. It was absolutely true. The fragrance came from the soup pot in Xiaopinggan's hand. Mr. Xia, I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to be eating. Qianlan stood up and said to Xiaopinggan. The Xiaopinggan in front of her was like a cute and warm boy next door. He even made Qianlan feel a little unfamiliar. Xiaopinggan, who was wearing an apron and smelling of smoke, was the same person who quietly let her and Lu Rue follow him all the way to the entrance of the Committee of Order and turn around to wave at her. And Lu Rue? Ha ha! I've troubled Officer Qian to come again for my matter. This place is simple and crude, and there's nothing to entertain. I'll invite Officer Qian to have a simple meal with us. Xiaopinggan smiled. You're welcome. Please sit down. I'll go to the kitchen and bring 2 more dishes. Ah, let me help you. In a short while, Xiaopinggan, Xiaoning, and Qianlan sat around the table. There were 3 dishes and a soup on the table. The fragrance of the soup made people drool. Xiaoning opened a bottle of non-alcoholic sparkling wine and poured 3 glasses. This glass is to celebrate that my brother finally bought a second-hand pickup truck. Our family finally has a car. In the future, we don't have to take the bus when we go out to set up a stall. Also, thank you, Sister Qian, for bringing back the money that my family lost. Today is a double blessing. Hearing Xiaoning's words, Xiaopinggan and Qianlan looked at each other and laughed at the same time. The 3 of them drank a glass. Xiaoning took Qianlan's bowl and added 2 spoonfuls of soup to Qianlan's bowl. There were also sea cucumbers and abalone in the soup. Sister Qian, this is my brother's specialty. It's the Xia family's secret pot soup. Try it. Whether it was because of her taste buds or her curiosity, Qianlan couldn't hold it in any longer. Seeing the fragrant soup in the bowl, Qianlan picked up the spoon and took a small sip. The expression on Qianlan's face became wonderful. This soup is really delicious. With just 1 sip, Qianlan felt the taste buds in her mouth open. She couldn't help but want to take a second sip. Xiaoning raised his eyebrows at Xiaopinggan. In Xiaopinggan's eyes, there was only one sentence. Brother, this sister is not bad either. After dinner, Xiao Pingan sent Qian Lan out of the neighborhood. Seeing that Qian Lan wanted to say something a few times, but hesitated, Xiao Pingan smiled and stretched out his hand. Officer Qian, let's officially get to know each other. I, Xiao Pingan, am a screw from the Shanghai City National Committee of Order. Qian Lan was slightly stunned. Then, she seemed to heave a big sigh of relief. She smiled and shook hands with Xiao Pingan. Qian Lan, Shanghai City Police Superintendent. By the way, can I ask you a personal question? What question? You're a summoner? If I tell you, I'll have to silence you. Qian Lan's heart tightened. When she saw the smile on Xiao Pingan's face, she realized that Xiao Pingan was joking with her. In the evening, after finishing the last pot of soup at home, Xiao Pingan officially started moving with Xia Ning. Although it was said to be moving, it was actually very simple. The two of them moved the things in the 6 suitcases to Xiao Pingan's new second-hand pickup truck. Then, Xiao Pingan drove his new second-hand pickup truck and pulled the luggage in Xianing to Guangzhou Hotel. They booked a suite and temporarily settled down. Chapter 55. Monday, June 17th, 2019, the 15th of May in the lunar calendar. Tonight was the day of the full moon, and it was the summoner's favorite and most anticipated day of the month. Every month, on this night, the summoner's secret altars would automatically recover half of their divine power, just like an empty wine bottle. Even if their divine power was completely depleted, they would only need to wait for 2 months for their divine power to recover. For the summoners of the National Committee of Order, today was also the day they received their monthly salary and benefits. It had been a long time since there was such a relaxed atmosphere in the headquarters of the National Committee of Order in Shanghai City. Early in the morning, there were 3 new faces in Mo Yinshao's office. There were 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was slightly older and looked to be in his 50s. His hair was already a little white, but he had an elegant temperament and wore gold-rimmed glasses. He was a charming middle-aged uncle. The other man was in his 30s. He looked sharp and cold, and there was a hideous tattoo on his neck. As for the woman, she had a head of flirtatious, fiery red hair. She had an angelic face and a devilish figure. She had a fiery temperament, and she wore a custom-made Italian dress. The 3 men in the room didn't smoke, but the red-haired woman sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. She had a woman's cigarette between her fingers. Her temperament was like that of a domineering female CEO. She was a little domineering. Director, I heard that there's a newcomer in our Special Operations Division. He's perfectly fused with the Divine Fire Realm bead, and has even mastered the soul-pacifying banner. The middle-aged man with a scholarly aura was talking to young Master Emoyen. He touched his silver hair with some emotion. Youngsters nowadays are amazing. I feel a little old already. You're old to begin with. The red-haired woman blew out a smoke ring and glanced at the elegant man. Her words were merciless. That little guy doesn't have a girlfriend yet, right? Leave him to me. Looking at the 3 returning colleagues, young Master Moyen could only rub his nose helplessly and say to the woman, Nana, didn't you say you were going to find a man and have a passionate relationship during this holiday? Why haven't you found your true love yet? All the men in this world are blind. I've been wandering outside alone for a month, and not a single man has the guts to come and talk to me. Those men are all like soft-footed shrimps and quails when they see me. I'm not interested at all, the woman said disdainfully. Men aren't blind. They just instinctively know how to avoid danger and don't want to enter the tiger's den. Another man who didn't speak glanced at the red-haired woman and said coldly, Long Gui Yuan, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that I'm not feminine? The woman glared at the man with dissatisfaction. The man looked at the ceiling and didn't answer. All right, stop arguing. Now that the 3 of you are back, our Special Operations Division is finally here. Mo Yinshao said, Now that you know the situation in Shanghai City, go and prepare yourselves. You'll officially be on duty from today onwards. The 3 of them stood up and were about to leave Mo Yinshao's office. However, just as they were about to leave, the 3 of them seemed to feel something and looked at the entrance of the Committee of Order downstairs. Mo Yinshao's office was located right in front of the entrance. From here, They could clearly see the situation below the building. The entrance of the Committee of Order had just opened. A black pickup truck with some paint peeling off drove in through the entrance and parked in the open-air parking space below the building. Then, a young man got out of the car and slammed the door shut. He walked towards the building. The young man who got out of the car seemed to feel the gaze from the office. He raised his head and glanced over. "This is our new colleague. He has quite the character." The elegant old man glanced at Mo Yin Xiao and then looked at the pickup truck that was too horrible to look at in his mind. However, when did the summoner of our Shanghai City Committee of Order become so poor? Looking at the pickup truck that Xia Pinggan drove, Mo Yin Xiao was speechless. Without asking, he knew that it must be a second-hand pickup truck that Xia Pinggan bought. This was because Xia Pinggan didn't have a car before. It was only a weekend, but Xia Pinggan came to work with an old pickup truck. Needless to say, he must have bought it during the weekend. Previously, Xia Pinggan had inquired about the matter of applying for a vehicle pass. "He's quite handsome. He's my type." The red-haired woman's mouth revealed a trace of a smile, and her eyes flashed. "Does his family run a farm?" Long Guyuan also asked Mo Yin Xiao. "Cough, cough, cough. His family doesn't run a farm. He's a car mechanic who awakened the ability to see things from afar. You can get to know him during lunch." Mo Yin Xiao could only answer this way. The three nodded and left Mo Yin Xiao's office. Downstairs, Xia Pinggan was walking quickly into the building. Previously, Mo Yin Xiao had contacted him and asked him to go to Mo Yin Xiao's office when he arrived at the headquarters. Xia Pinggan was a little excited because today was the day he received his salary. It was time to witness the benefits of the Committee of Order. The two elevators passed by each other on the 9th floor. Xia Pinggan did not see the three people who were still in Mo Yin Xiao's office. When he arrived at the door of Mo Yin Xiao's office, he knocked on the door. Mo Yin Xiao's voice came from inside. "Come in." Xia Pinggan walked in. "Director, you were looking for me?" Have a seat." Xia Pinggan sat in the chair opposite Mo Yin Xiao. "Did you buy a new car over the weekend?" Mo Yin Xiao asked. "Yes." Xia Pinggan nodded. Today is the day you receive your salary. Later, you can go to the finance office to get your bank card. Actually, you could buy a better car. The summoners in the Committee of Order are treated well. There's no need to save on these small expenses." Mo Yin Xiao wanted to say that the car was a small matter and was not worth much money. However, if Xia Pinggan drove that pickup truck out and was seen by the provincial department or other summoners, they would definitely think that Mo Yin Xiao was mistreating his team members. Damn it. Even with a summoner from the Requiem banner following Mo Yin Xiao, he was still doing so badly? If this rumor were to spread, it would not be a good thing for Mo Yin Xiao. He would be the scapegoat for no reason, so he had to remind him. Xia Pinggan did not seem to understand at once. Although that Iron Bull pickup truck is second-hand, it's actually quite good. It's reliable and durable. The previous owner bought it for less than half a year and drove it for less than 5,000 kilometers. Because it was too long, he scratched it a few times. Once when he was parking, he took up the parking space next to him. Someone even splashed sulfuric acid on the car, causing a lot of paint to fall off. Mo Yin Xiao was speechless. He realized that Xia Pinggan did not understand, so he could only say, "Lao Zhou likes to tinker with these things. I'll get Lao Zhou to help you deal with it." A lot of paint fell off the car, so it does look a little miserable. If you drive that car out, people will think that I'm mistreating you. Xia Pinggan smiled and understood. "Okay, thank you, Director. I called you here today to give you this." Mo Yin Xiao took out a palm-sized metal box from the drawer of his desk and handed it over. The box was a metal box made by the Committee of Order. When Xia Pinggan saw the words on the box, he was a little surprised. He looked up at Mo Yin Xiao and asked, "Slave Soldier Realm Bead?" "Yes, this is the Slave Soldier Realm Bead. You performed well in the last operation to kill the members of the Demon Eyes. I reported it to the provincial department, and the provincial department issued this Slave Soldier Realm Bead in advance. As long as you fuse with this Slave Soldier Realm Bead, you'll have a second attack method other than Fireball, and you can deal with more situations." In addition to his good performance in the last operation, Xia Pinggan estimated that the biggest reason was related to the upcoming space invasion. The Slave Soldier Realm Bead was issued in advance, and when the space invasion broke out, he would have stronger power. He did not expect that the space invasion would give him the opportunity to fuse with his slave soldier realm bead in advance. Chapter 56. The success rate of this slave soldier realm pearl is very high. Most summoners can successfully fuse with this realm pearl, and it doesn't take long. Find some time to fuse with it this morning. Okay, I'll go back and fuse with it later. Xia Pingan actually wanted to open the box to see what kind of realm pearl this slave soldier realm pearl was, but he suppressed this thought. Mo Yanxiao nodded and continued to instruct Xia Pingan. Today is the 15th of the lunar calendar, a good day for summoners. When night falls, before the moon rises, remember to use at least half of your divine power and store it in the secret mandala. Otherwise, it will go to waste. There's nothing else. Oh, right, a few colleagues from the Special Operations Division are back. You haven't met them before. Remember to come to the cafeteria at noon and get to know them. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll go out first. When Xia Pingan walked to the door, Mo Yanxiao reminded him again. Remember to collect your salary card and this month's Xinli Dan from the finance office. You were paid level 1 last month, and this month you officially became a summoner, so you'll be paid level 2. How much is a level 2 basic salary? 99,000 yuan per month. If it was 99,000 yuan per month, that would be more than 1,000,000 yuan a year. He didn't expect it to be so easy to earn 1,000,000 yuan after becoming a summoner. Hearing about a salary increase always made people happy. Xia Pingan took the box with the slave soldier realm pearl in his hand and left Mo Yanxiao's office. He went straight to the finance office. It was rare that Sister Lu in the finance office wasn't taking care of her bonsai today. Instead, she was sitting behind a desk. Hello, Sister Lu. Ping and long time no see. Seeing Xia Pingan enter, Sister Lu directly handed Xia Pingan an envelope and a wooden box the size of a fist. Your salary card and pay slip are in the envelope. This medicine box contains the level 1 Xinli Dan you received this month. This level 1 Xinli Dan can replenish 20 points of divine power. You can eat it when you go back. Come here and sign. Xia Pingan took the pen and wrote his name on a form. Pingan, you're doing well. You've only been employed for a month, and you've already earned over 7 million. Sister Lu praised Xia Pingan. More than 7 million? Xia Pingan froze for a moment, then laughed. Sister Lu, are you kidding me? My basic salary is 69,000 yuan. Director Mo said my salary was only raised to level 2 this month. Yeah, your level 1 salary is 69,000 yuan, but didn't you go to the provincial department to carry out a special mission last month? The reward for that special mission was over 7 million yuan. I checked it, there's no mistake. Sister Lu said, the last time he went to the provincial department, didn't he just fight in the death corner fighting arena and kill a scumbag? Why was there so much prize money? All right, thank you, Sister Lu. I'll go back and take a look. Xia Pingan left the finance office and went straight to his room. He then opened the envelope that belonged to him. Inside the envelope was a black bank card and a wage slip. He glanced at the wage slip. On the wage slip, the basic salary for level 1 was 69,000 yuan, which would be paid in full in May. Apart from the basic salary for level 1, the largest sum on the wage slip came from the mission bonus. The mission reward was a whopping 56 million yuan. Adding the two together, Xia Pingan's pre-tax salary and bonus was 7,629,000 yuan. Summoners had a monthly tax allowance of 3 million yuan, so he had to pay 4,629,000 yuan in taxes. After deducting the taxes, his total salary and bonus was 7,119,810 yuan. He earned 7 million yuan in a month. Xia Pingan's mind was in a daze. He took out his phone and checked the balance on his bank card. As expected, the balance was 7,119,810 yuan. He thought for a moment, then called Yin Duo. Hello. Yin Duo's voice came from the phone. He sounded lazy and listless. I want to ask if there was a mission reward when I went to the Death Corner fighting arena last time. I saw it today. The reward was 56 million yuan, Humph. Are you showing off to me? It's only 7 million yuan, a drop in the bucket. If it wasn't for... Forget it. You won't understand even if I tell you. I want to ask, how did you get so much money? It's only 56 million yuan. How much is that? Yin Duo's voice was like a castrated cat. The 3 million yuan is the appearance fee for your next Death Corner fighting arena. It's also the fee for buying your life. It's both a win and a loss. The 56 million yuan is your 5% share of the betting income from that match. This 56 million yuan is your mission reward. It's a reasonable amount. Is there a problem? Xiao Pingan suppressed his excitement and took a deep breath. Okay, no problem. I got it. If you have another chance to fight in the future, you can continue to look for me. I'll treat you to a big meal. Fight my ass. You're a summoner now. There's no fight in the Great Fire Country for you. Oh, right? Do you think you have too much money to spend? Can you lend me some? The signal here isn't very good. I have to enter the tunnel. I can't hear you. Hey, what are you talking about? I can't hear you. I'm hanging up. Beep, beep, beep. Yin Duo, who was in Xinchuan, was stunned for 2 seconds when he saw the beeping sound coming from his phone. The corners of his eyes twitched as he cursed. Xiao Pingan, you bastard. Don't let me see you again. After cursing, Yin Duo looked at the income of more than 1 million yuan on his salary slip and couldn't help but frown. Alas, I'm too poor. I've earned more than 1 million yuan last month with a basic level, 6 salary, and a little mission reward. It's not even enough to cover the basic tax exemption. This amount of money is not enough to spend at all. It's not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. I have to find a way to earn some money. Otherwise, how can I buy the Realm Pearl? After hanging up Yin Duo's call, Xiao Pingan excitedly walked around his office a few times. Yesterday, he still felt that he was a standard poor person. He didn't expect to make a huge profit today. The saying that there were no poor summoners was right. Just then, the phone rang again. It was Uncle Zhou. Xiao Pingan picked up the phone. Hello, Uncle Zhou. Director Mo said you drove a second-hand pickup truck to work today. It's a little shabby, so he asked me to clean it up for you. You're too stingy. If you take that second-hand pickup truck out for a spin, and people find out, no summoner will be willing to join the Xiang'e Committee of Order in the future. Ask the robot to send down the car keys. How do you want me to clean it up for you? Xiao Pingan was a little embarrassed. Uncle Zhou, I didn't think so much when I bought it. I just felt that the car was okay, so I bought it. Wait a moment. I'll ask the robot to send you the keys. You can do whatever you want. That's more like it. All right, don't worry. I'll fix it up for you. Xiao Pingan didn't leave the office. He directly called a robot in and threw his car keys to the robot to send it down. After a while, Xiao Pingan's mood had completely calmed down. Only then did he take the metal box containing the slave soldier realm pearl and enter the cultivation room. In the cultivation room, Xiao Pingan opened the metal box and saw a realm pearl shining with a gray luster. The realm pearl was shrouded in gray fog, and 4 connected Xiaozhuan holy texts were faintly discernible. Betrayal. These were the words that Xiao Pingan saw on the holy texts. With one look, Xiao Pingan understood why the realm pearl could summon slave soldiers. Mo Yanxiao also said that the success rate of merging with the realm pearl was high. The betrayal happened during the Battle of Mai. This battle took place at the end of the Shang dynasty, which was the 11th century BC. It was the final battle of King Wu of Zhou against King Zhou of Shang. The exact date of the Battle of Mai was still debated by historians. However, it didn't affect the existence and historical significance of this battle. King Zhou of Shang was muddle-headed and tyrannical. During the battle, the slave soldiers who were the vanguard of the Shang dynasty betrayed the Shang dynasty. This led to the collapse of the Shang dynasty's army. If he wanted to merge with the Realm Pearl, his role in the Realm Pearl was very likely to be the slave soldier who betrayed the Shang dynasty. He should be able to complete the merging after a single battle. Thinking of this, Xiao Pingan turned the ring on his finger to reveal a silver needle. He pricked his finger with the needle and dripped 2 drops of blood onto the Realm Pearl. After a while, Xiao Pingan turned into a cocoon of light and entered the Realm Pearl. The sun was shining brightly above his head. In Brother Chow City, Xia Pingan suddenly opened his eyes. In front of him was a long line. The people in the line were dressed in ragged clothes. Everyone was huddled together in an empty space, mournful and numb. They were all looking at a ceremony in front of them. Xia Pingan himself was also in the line in ragged clothes. He was also one of the slaves. In front of the slaves, there were 2 rows of armored soldiers holding spears. The ceremony was being held in an empty space. There were many construction materials piled up around the empty space. There were stones and wood. A few people in luxurious clothes gathered in the middle of the space, chatting and laughing softly. Before Xia Pingan could figure out what was going on, there was a commotion in the crowd. Amidst the cries and shouts, Xia Pingan saw more than 10 slaves tied up with leather straps being brought forward. There were men and women, old and young. Half of the slaves were children under the age of 10. There were a total of 6 of them. All of the slaves were strung together by ropes and brought forward by a group of soldiers. The slaves who were tied up were pale. Their bodies were trembling in fear. They seemed to know what was going to happen next. They started to cry and scream. Looking at the construction site in front of him and the slaves being brought forward, Xia Pingan suddenly thought of something. His expression changed slightly. The empty space in front of him looked like a construction site. The slaves being brought forward at this time was definitely not a good thing. Could it be laying the foundation? Chapter 57. Seeing those slaves being brought up, those luxuriously dressed nobles in the middle of the field stopped talking. They all looked at those slaves being brought up and started to comment on them. A middle-aged nobleman raised his head and looked at the sun in the sky. After that, he made a hand gesture to those soldiers in the surroundings. Some attendants took out incense sticks and stuck them into the ground. After lighting them, those nobles started to kneel on the ground and pray towards the incense sticks. After that, someone took out a bronze tool and sprinkled some plant ashes in a circle around the open space, marking out an area on the ground. Then, a witch dressed like a witch, with colorful feathers all over her body and a wooden pole tied with colorful strips of cloth in her hand, appeared. She started to dance on the empty ground, her feet moving back and forth on the ground as she muttered to herself. From time to time, she would wave the wooden pole in her hand in the air. After the dance, the witch left the stage, and the nobles nodded their heads. The auspicious time has arrived. Start the sacrifice. Following this voice, the dozen or so slaves who were being dragged up began to cry and struggle. "Mummy, I'm scared, I'm scared." A little girl among the slaves started to scream as she tried her best to hide in her mother's embrace. A white-haired old slave was crying as she hugged another little boy in her arms. She covered that little boy's eyes with one hand. Some other slaves were struggling. However, those slaves' struggles were in vain. The soldiers who were escorting them forced all the adults to kneel on the ground. They stepped on their feet and raised their machetes. One by one, their heads were chopped off. Their heads were filled with fear and pain as they rolled on the ground. The fresh blood of the adults who had their heads chopped off splashed onto those children's bodies and faces. Those children were so scared that they started to cry loudly. Some of them even fainted due to fear. "Mummy, mummy." That little slave girl saw her headless mother's body falling down and sitting in a pool of blood. Her eyes were dull as she kept calling Mummy and wanted to grab her mother's head. The fresh blood of the old slave who was holding the little boy poured down from the little boy's head, turning him into a bloody person. Even though they were in the realm bead and knew what was going to happen, Xia Pingan couldn't help but close his eyes when he witnessed this inhumane scene. In slave societies, this kind of thing was very common. If Xia Pingan had to find the 2 cruelest Chinese characters in the history of Huaxia, where slavery existed, they would be laying the foundation. In this era, whenever the slave masters wanted to build a new high-rise building, they would hold a groundbreaking ceremony. The slaves would become the sacrifices of this groundbreaking ceremony. When the building was being built, the slaves would be killed and their bones would be placed under the high-rise building. They would use their flesh and blood to become the building materials of the slave master's high-rise building. Apart from the time of construction, when laying the foundation, when casting the walls, when installing the door, and when completing the building, slaves would be killed and used as sacrifices for the house. The slave masters felt that by doing this, they could bless their high-rise building to stand tall and not fall, and their wealth would continue to extend. In the many archaeological excavations of the later generations, under the remains of the magnificent buildings of this era, there were piles of bones, blood, and tears of slaves. Just the ruins of a palace in Hungnan used 889 living people to lay the foundation. Blood flowed from the severed necks of the slaves who had their heads cut off. The luxuriously dressed slave masters looked at all this with a smile, and then ordered the soldiers to drag the bodies of the dead slaves around the open space a few times. The soldiers raised the feet of the slaves, and the severed necks were close to the ground. In this way, they could force all the blood out of the slaves' bodies and use the blood sprayed out by the slaves to water the ground of the high-rise building they were going to build. Xiao Pingan and the other slaves watched from the side. When the blood of the decapitated corpses had completely flowed out, some of the slaves in front were driven forward and dug several large pits on the ground. In one of the large pits were the bodies of the decapitated adults, and the children were thrown into another pit. They didn't need to be decapitated and were directly buried alive. In the end, the groundbreaking ceremony was completed. After completing the groundbreaking ceremony, the slave masters looked up at the scorching sun above their heads and then smiled contentedly as they sat in the carriage and left, leaving the supervisors and soldiers to guard the place. "Hurry up, get to work." The supervisors waved their whips, whipped the slaves, and began to direct the slaves to work and carry the building materials. Xiao Pingan carried a piece of wood, and the whip hit him. "Hurry up, don't be lazy," the supervisor shouted. Looking around at the armed and armored soldiers, Xiao Pingan silently carried the things and didn't say a word. The slaves worked silently until the sky darkened. Everyone was exhausted, and the supervisors and soldiers then escorted Xiao Pingan and the rest back to their own residence. Xiao Pingan walked in Brother Chao City and sized up the capital of the Shang dynasty. The houses of the slave masters in this era were easy to distinguish. Almost all of the slave masters lived in the big and small, four-accents heavy houses, while the commoners lived in the relatively small suite rooms or single houses. A single room was a single room, while a suite room was also very simple. It was two rooms connected together with a door in the middle. In a commoner's room, the largest furniture was an earthen bed and stove. The slaves didn't have the right to live in a house, so Xiao Pingan and the rest were driven to some simple sheds and crypts. The sheds were built with the simplest wood and grass, and the crypts were holes dug underground, like dog kennels. No, in the eyes of many slave masters, the lives of slaves were not worth as much as a good dog. The underground was dark and damp. Many of Xiao Pingan's slaves lived in the crypts for a long time, and the joints of their hands and feet were a little twisted. It was obvious that they were suffering from severe rheumatism. As for the food of the slaves, it was just some biscuits made of bran and some porridge boiled. Xiao Pingan held a piece of burnt bran biscuit and squatted silently in the straw shed, looking at the people in front of him. The slaves lived a life worse than pigs and dogs. Their hatred was buried in their hearts. Everyone's appearance looked dirty and numb, as if they were shells without souls. This life lasted for 5 days. On the 6th day, Xiao Pingan and the rest stopped work before the foundation was completed. That night, they ate a meal of biscuits and millet porridge for the first time. That day, Xiao Pingan heard the overseer chatting with the soldiers, saying that King Wu's army was coming. The atmosphere in Brother Chao City was tense, and the nobles living in the four halls were uneasy. On the 7th day, all the slaves in Brother Chao City were gathered, given weapons, and brought to the Mai. All the slaves knew that King Wu's army was coming. Before King Wu's army came, the slaves were just sacrificial offerings for the nobles in the four halls. They could be killed, buried, and lived like pigs and dogs. When King Wu's army came, the nobles gave the slaves a good meal, then gave them weapons, and let them fight to the death on the battlefield to protect the nobles. To the nobles, Everything seemed to be logical, as if it was how it should be. But to the slaves, there was an inexplicable restlessness among them, like a spark of fire. The slaves had no status and were as lowly as grass, but they were not stupid. Even a dog knew that if someone treated it well, it would wag its tail at that person, let alone a person. Would a dog risk its life to protect a person who would whip it with a stick at any time, abuse it, and threaten to kill it and kill its wife and children at the slightest provocation? No, the dog would not. Not only that, the dog would bare its teeth at that person, growl, and want to turn into a wolf and tear that person's throat out. Then why did the slave masters in Brother Chow City think that the thousands of slaves they used to build the foundations of their palaces would protect their palaces? Xiao did not understand this question. Between the slave and the slave master, one was stupider than the dog, and the other was smarter than the dog. Otherwise, there would not be such an absurd arrangement. At dawn on the 8th day, Xiao saw King Wu's army in the vast Mai. Chapter 58. The first rays of the morning sun shone on the Mai. A gentle breeze blew across the vast grassland, causing it to ripple like a blue wave. Today was a good day, but a war that was destined to go down in history was about to begin here. The Mai was the wilderness for grazing animals. This was the largest pasture outside of Jiaoga City. Normally, there were herds of cows and sheep and wild cows, antelopes, and elk could be seen everywhere. However, with the arrival of the war, the solemn atmosphere caused the wild animals in the Mai to avoid the battlefield. The low sound of war drums reverberated through the Mai, causing the atmosphere to become even more tense. Dong, 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 dong. Amidst the war drums, the supervising officers of King Zhou's slave army waved their flags and shouted out orders. Advance! The supervising officers rode on their horses, with a few soldiers beside them. They urged the slave army to advance. The soldiers waved their whips, causing the whips to crack in the air, urging the slave army to advance. In front of the supervising officers was an army of more than 200,000 slaves, who had been urgently gathered from outside Jiaoga City. Xiao was in the middle of the slave army. At this moment, Xiao heart was not filled with fear, but with excitement. This was because he had finally proven one thing. In ancient Huaxia, the giant race did exist, and they coexisted with the human race. In ancient Huaxia, the giants were not called giants, but Changren. There were many records about the giants in ancient Huaxia history books. According to legend, when Yu the Great was controlling the flood, he subdued the giant race and had them help him control the flood. Qin Shi Huang also had a giant general under his command, Wang Zhong. Wang Mang had also subdued a giant general when he usurped the Han dynasty. That giant general was called a giant, and he was Wang Mang's #1 general. The new Book of Tang was the official history book, and there were records about the giants. It said, "The people of Changren are 30 feet long, with sawtooth and full claws. They are covered in black fur and do not eat fire." The giants did not know how to make fire, and they would eat people. They kidnapped women and threatened the borders of the country. In the secret history, during the Sui and Tang dynasties, the Han dynasty had sent troops to the north several times because of the Changren tribe. The last time the giants appeared in Huaxia history was during the Ming dynasty. During the Ming dynasty's Changhua period, the soldiers of the Jiangsu Navy met with danger at sea and landed on a small island on a boat. They saw giants on that island. The giants chased the soldiers, and the soldiers escaped on a boat. During the fight, a Ming soldier cut off a giant's finger, the finger which was 1 foot and 4 inches long, and was kept in the Jiaoding treasury. As for the archaeology community, it was said that the remains of giants have been discovered all over the world. In his previous life, Xiao had searched for traces of giants all over the world. By chance, he had seen a giant's leg bone. Xiao saw the giant in the midst of King Zhou's army. There were 18 giants. The giants were 7 to 8 meters tall, and they were under the banner of King Zhou of Shang's army. In the distance, as long as one turned their head, they would be able to see the 18 giants. There was a burning bonfire in front of the 18 giants, and they were holding red-hot wooden stakes in their hands. They were letting out waves of roars, looking very majestic and frightening. In front of those giants, there were several military formations. In those military formations, there were 24 strongmen who could lift boulders weighing more than 500 kilograms. Those 24 strongmen were also giants, but they weren't as tall as the ones who were holding bronze sticks. In front of them were huge boulders. In front of the 24 giants, there were 3,000 bare-armed warriors who could lift a whole bull. In front of the 3,000 giants, there were 5,000 soldiers who carried javelins on their backs. They moved as if they were flying, and their javelins never missed. In front of the 5,000 giants, there were tens of thousands of soldiers under King Zhou of Shang. The tens of thousands of soldiers were divided into several large formations. In front of the tens of thousands of soldiers, there were Xia Pingan and the other slave soldiers. The number of slave soldiers was the largest, more than 200,000. The black mass of slave soldiers was like a tide. Under the urging of the military commanders, they slowly moved forward with their spears and halberds. Some of the slaves only held sharpened wooden sticks as spears. Xia Pingan's body was strong, so he was given a halberd. Xia Pingan held a halberd in his hand. The halberd had a 3-meter-long wooden shaft, and its copper head was very sharp. Restlessness, unease, and tension spread through the slave army. Not long after, the martial king's army also appeared in front of them. It was a black mass. In terms of numbers, King Wu's army did not have as many people as King Zhou of Shang. However, there were many vassal banners in King Wu's army. At a glance, there were hundreds of vassal banners of various colors. Among them, there were 8 vassal banners that stood out on both sides of the largest Zhou banner. Xia Pingan looked over and saw that there was a word on each of the 8 banners. Yong, Shu, Chong, Wei Wei, Fu, Lu, Peng, and Di. Each word represented a vassal state. Legend had it that when King Wu of Zhou conquered Zhou of Shang, he had 800 vassals to help him. Now, it seemed that he did not have 800, but there were at least a few hundred vassals. According to the standards of this era, some of the vassals' territories could only be a few villages. When they brought out their banners, they could be considered a state. This could strengthen King Wu's army. However, the most important vassals were the 8 vassals. This was the earliest 8-vassal alliance in the history of China. Although the vassal states of Chong, Wei, Yi, Lu, Peng, and Di were dressed strangely, but it was nothing special. Xia Pingan's gaze landed on the Shu army under the Shu banner. From afar, he could see that the soldiers under the Shu banner all wore strange copper masks. The copper masks had protruding eyes, which looked exactly like the strange copper masks found at the 3 Stars Mount. Behind King Wu's army, there were also giants holding large wooden stakes. The 2 armies stopped about 1 li apart. The atmosphere in the entire my field was tense to the extreme at this moment. Facing King Wu's army, King Zhou of Shang's slave army was still restless. The supervisors rode on their horses and ran back and forth behind the slave army. Occasionally, they would wave the whips in their hands and roar loudly. Steady, steady. All slave soldiers, listen to my orders. When King Wu's army moves, all of you will rush forward. In those boring movies and TV series, when the generals of the 2 armies met on the battlefield, they would always exchange a few words. However, that was actually nonsense. In this kind of battlefield, no matter how hard you shouted, only the people around you could hear you. It would be very difficult to hear you if you were 100 meters away. The distance between the 2 armies was about 1 li. The commotion within the army and the neighing of the horses and carriages had completely drowned out the surrounding noises. On the battlefield, the only things that could be communicated were flags, drums, and horns. Xia Pingan, who was in the crowd, tried his best to look down at the Zhou banner on King Wu's side. However, he could only vaguely see a group of fierce warriors standing under the banner with shields in their hands. There were also some generals riding on horses. Behind those generals, there was a carriage with a group of armored guards next to it. There seemed to be a few figures on the carriage. They should be King Wu, Jiang Taigong, and the others. As for King Zhou of Shang's army, it was the same. King Zhou's carriage was behind the army and was heavily guarded. From afar, one could only see a banner fluttering in the wind. It was impossible to see what King Zhou and Daji looked like from here. The stalemate between the two sides did not last long. Suddenly, a horn sounded from King Wu's army. In the sound of the horn, a banner with the word Lu flew out from the crowd of fluttering banners. A general riding on a horse led a cavalry of more than 1,000 men and charged towards King Zhou of Shang's army. King Wu had begun his attack. Looking at the word Lu, Xiao Pinggan knew that the first general sent out by King Wu's side was Lu Wang. The history books recorded that Lu Wang was the first to move. It seemed to be true. Lu Wang was so brave that he might be Lu Bu's ancestor. Seeing the cavalry charging towards them, King Zhou of Shang's slave army became even more restless. Some of the slaves showed fear on their faces. Some of them turned their heads to look at the supervisors behind them with hatred in their eyes. Charge! 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 The supervisors' eyes turned red as they roared. A few slaves wanted to retreat out of fear, but the supervisors took out their swords and killed them. If they did not act now, when would they? The slave army of more than 100,000 was only a spark away from victory. He was that spark. Xiao Pinggan did not say a word. He turned around, held his spear, and charged towards the nearest supervisor on horseback. With just one charge, the supervisor was stabbed down from his horse. The surrounding slaves were all stunned. The soldiers beside the supervisors were also stunned. They never thought that the slaves would resist. Brothers, King Zhou of Shang is tyrannical. He oppressed and killed countless of our brothers and family members. Are we still going to work for him at this time? Are we going to let those nobles continue to ride on our heads? Are we going to be buried with them? Are we going to use our children to build the foundations of their palaces? Everyone, follow me and kill those bastards, Xiao Pinggan roared. Before the soldiers beside the supervisor could react, he brandished his long spear and chopped down a soldier's neck, cutting down another one. The slave soldiers were awakened. Seeing someone taking the lead, those slaves who had long been restless and full of hatred instantly rushed towards those senior officers behind them and stabbed those senior officers off their horses with their long halberds and long spears. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100, and 100 spread to 1,000. The slave army of more than 100,000 instantly became restless, and all of them roared. With red eyes, the slave soldiers turned around and charged towards the supervisors behind them. Thousands of spears and spears turned around and aimed at those people who usually rode roughshod over the slave soldiers and built the foundations of their palaces. However, in times of war, they pushed the slave soldiers into the battlefield and made the slave soldiers risk their lives to protect their wealth. Did those people think that the slave soldiers were worse than dogs? Kill King Zhou. Kill those bastards who ride on our heads. Kill those bastards who build the foundations of their palaces with our flesh and blood. Kill them. The enmity that the slave soldiers usually suppressed burst out. The few overseers in front of Xiao Pinggan didn't even need to wait for Xiao Pinggan to make a move before they were turned into meat paste by the thousands of spears. The slave army of more than 100,000 turned around like a tide and pointed their weapons at King Zhou's army. They roared and charged towards King Zhou's army. At this moment, the drums and horns of King Wu's army thundered. Right behind Lu Wang's cavalry, King Wu's army charged towards King Zhou's army with a deafening roar. In King Zhou's army of Shang dynasty, the tens of thousands of King Zhou soldiers behind the 200,000 slave soldiers were dumbfounded when they saw the slave army in front of them turn around and charge at them. Their psychological defenses crumbled instantly. Some of the dukes on King Zhou's side were the first to turn around and run. When the dukes on King Zhou's side ran with their soldiers, the tens of thousands of soldiers' formation loosened. Their morale instantly collapsed like an avalanche. Chapter 59. None of the slave soldiers around him knew how to ride horses, so Xiao Pinggan easily stole a horse from one of the officers. Riding on the horse, he followed the rest of the army and charged towards King Zhou's army. On a battlefield like this, it was easier for people to understand the true meaning of the phrase, "A defeated army collapses like a landslide." What was a landslide? It was the embodiment of the domino effect on the battlefield. The collapse of the slave army had directly defeated King Zhou's regular army, which was holding the rear. Once King Zhou's dukes began to run away, the entire army of King Zhou fell apart, and the morale of the army collapsed. King Zhou's 5,000 javelins were also defeated. After the javelins, the strong men who could lift oxen and throw stones also turned and ran. The 18 giants who held the burning wooden stakes were stunned for a moment, then turned and ran as well. In the field, King Zhou's army collapsed before they even came into contact with King Wu's army. People were running everywhere, and King Wu's army was chasing after the slave soldiers. The Shang dynasty, which had been passed down for more than 500 years, collapsed in the face of the slave soldiers' betrayal. In the field outside Zhaoga City, seeing the army collapsing, King Zhou's flag and chariots started to retreat into Zhaoga City. Xiao Pingan rode on his horse and chased after King Zhou's flag. He had already abandoned his dagger axe. He grabbed a bronze sword and a whip and ran on his horse. With the sword in his left hand and the whip in his right, he chased after King Zhou's flag. At this point in time, Xiao Pingan felt that the historical drama of the betrayal was over. He chased after King Zhou's flag because he wanted to see what King Zhou and Su Daji, who could bring chaos to the world, looked like. He wanted to satisfy his historical curiosity. At the same time, he also wanted to see if he could maximize the benefits of the slave soldier beads and create another perfect absorption. He had heard that although the slave soldier beads were the easiest to fuse, different summoners could summon different slave soldiers with different abilities. Some were strong, and some were weak. Therefore, he could still give it a try. Xiao Pingan brandished his long whip and long sword. Those who dared to attack him along the way were either lashed in the face by the long whip in his hand or cut down by the bronze sword. They screamed and fell to the ground. At a time like this, there were only a few people who dared to stop and wave their sword behind them. Most of the deserters left their backs open to the pursuing army. Very few of them dared to turn around and face the raging tide. Those who couldn't run away directly jumped into the river or knelt down to surrender. King Wu has ordered that only King Zhou will be killed. Those who kneel and surrender will be spared. King Wu's subordinate, L.V. Wang, and the cavalry led by L.V. Wang shouted from behind. Their voices spread throughout the field of wilderness. Hearing these voices, King Zhou's army quickly lost their will to resist. The bronze sword in Xiao Pingan's hand only managed to slash a few people. After hitting the armor twice, the bronze sword was bent and the blade was broken. Xiao Pingan threw down the bronze sword and only used the whip to whip his horse, closely chasing after King Zhou's banner. He saw a backpack left behind by the javelin throwers on the ground in front of him. There were several javelins in the backpack. When Xiao Pingan galloped past, he pulled out his whip and wrapped it around the backpack. Then the backpack rolled it up. There were a few javelins in the backpack. On the road ahead, a giant of King Zhou of Shang stayed behind. He waved a burning wooden stake in his hand and sniped at the pursuing soldiers behind him. The giant was too terrifying. The wooden stake in his hand was like a pillar. It was 4 or 5 meters long, and it was still burning. The giant swung the wooden pole, which was about 4 to 5 meters long, in the air, creating a whistling sound. Sparks flew in all directions. Just one swing of the pole was enough to smash King Wu's cavalry into meat paste or send them flying more than 10 meters away. There were a few people who rushed closer, but they were directly grabbed by the giant, and their heads were bitten off by the giant's mouth. The cavalry's horses were afraid of fire. When they saw the burning wooden stake, they didn't dare to get close. For a moment, the road was in chaos. Only the angry roar of the giant could be heard. It was 1 against 10,000. Xiao Pingan urged his horse to gallop and pulled out a javelin. 30 meters away, before he could get close to the giant, He used the momentum of his horse to throw the javelin in his hand at the giant. The giant's target was huge. Xiao Pinggan's javelin hit the giant's stomach. The javelin sank 2 feet into the giant's stomach. The giant screamed in pain, and the burning wooden stake in his hand fell to the ground. His legs bent, and his huge body knelt on the ground. The giant pulled out the javelin from his body and glared at Xiao Pinggan. He threw the javelin at Xiao Pinggan. However, the giant was not good at using such delicate weapons. The javelin was more than a meter away from Xiao Pinggan's head. With a gust of wind, it flew more than 100 meters away. Seeing the burning wooden stake in the giant's hand finally fall to the ground, King Wu's chariots rushed up. The soldiers on the chariots held 4 to 5 meters long javelins and stabbed the giant's body. In the blink of an eye, the giant fell to the ground covered in blood. Before the giant fell, Xiao Pinggan had already circled around the giant and continued to chase after King Zhou's flag. On the way from Itachauga, there were armors, carriages, and flags abandoned by King Zhou's army. The flags of the nobles who were once high and mighty were thrown on the road for people to trample on. King Zhou led his men and fled in a sorry state from outside the city. Before he could close the city gates, the scattered soldiers behind him swarmed in. The soldiers guarding the city ran away, and no one cared about the city gates anymore. The entire Chauga city was in chaos. King Wu's cavalry had already rushed into the city and were shouting everywhere. King Wu has ordered that only King Zhou will be killed. Those who kneel and surrender will be spared. Xiao Pinggan rode his horse into Zhaoga City, heading in the direction of the Deer Terrace Pavilion. Deer Terrace Pavilion was built by King Zhou with the strength of the entire country. He had spent 7 years, countless slaves had died, and countless money to build it. It was the most gorgeous super palace in the world. The entire Deer Terrace Pavilion was more than 2,000 meters long and wide. It was backed by Tying Mountain, and the rare treasures of the world were gathered in Deer Terrace Pavilion. There were rugged rocks everywhere, vines, mushrooms, green bamboo, and towering pine trees. In the center of Deer Terrace Pavilion, there was a huge platform that occupied more than 100 acres. On the platform were magnificent houses and buildings that were 7 stories tall. It was indescribably luxurious. Xiao Pinggan, who had rushed into Deer Terrace Pavilion, was stunned by the gorgeous scene in Deer Terrace Pavilion. At this moment, he finally understood why there was such a record in the records of the Grand Historian. Rich taxes to pay for Deer Terrace Pavilion. Deer Terrace Pavilion was a place where the wealth of the world was gathered for people to have fun. Inside Deer Terrace Pavilion, there were palace maids and eunuchs running everywhere. Those exquisite artifacts, beautiful jade, and jewelry were scattered everywhere. The guards had long disappeared. Seeing Xiao Pinggan charge into Deer Terrace Pavilion with his horse, the palace maids and eunuchs screamed and fled in all directions. No one dared to go forward. Everyone only cared about fleeing for their lives and sweeping up the treasures in Deer Terrace Pavilion. Amidst this chaos, when Xiao Pinggan urged his horse to charge to the 7-story high platform in the core area of Deer Terrace Pavilion, where King Zhou was, the magnificent 7-story high platform was already ablaze with thick smoke rising everywhere. On the tallest building, a crazy figure was laughing loudly amidst the flames and smoke. The figure was covered in pearls and jade. As he drank fine wine, he constantly sprinkled fine wine, jewels, and silk onto the blazing flames around him. Ha ha ha! All of you will be buried with me. All of you will be buried with me. King Zhou's wild laughter came from the tall building. That was King Zhou. Through the blazing flames, Xiao Pinggan still could not see what King Zhou looked like, nor did he see Su Daji. What a pity! The fire on the terrace was too big. Xiao Pinggan grabbed a javelin beside him and threw it with all his might at King Zhou's figure amidst the flames and smoke. The moment the javelin entered the flames and smoke, before Xiao Pinggan could see if it had hit, the entire world of the Realm Pearl shattered at the same time, turning into a mist of light. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.